And he starts shooting. This is how Bill Malusian on Fox News, he was talking about this. This is the report last night as news broke.
DHS says at 6:50 p.m. Central Time tonight, quote, federal law enforcement officers were conducting a targeted traffic stop in Minneapolis of an illegal alien from Venezuela who was released into the country by Joe Biden in 2022. In an attempt to evade arrest, the subject fled the scene in his vehicle and crashed into a parked car. The subject then fled on foot. The law enforcement officer caught up to the subject on foot and attempted to apprehend him when the subject began to resist and violently assault the officer. While the subject and law enforcement were in a struggle on the ground, two subjects came out of a nearby apartment and also attacked the law enforcement officer with a snow shovel and broom handle. As the officer was being ambushed and attacked by the two individuals, the original subject got loose and began striking the officer with a shovel or broomstick.
Joan, you ever been hit by a broomstick? I have.
Not.
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Your mom get you?
My drunken grandmother.
Oh.
She got so mad at me one time.
You have the most lovely family stories.
Well, so I come from a long line of drunks. Everybody knows that. So somehow the alcoholic gene didn't impact me, but like everybody around me in my family, they're all just, a walking AA meeting. So she got really angry with me because I had done something. We threw a baseball, it broke, whatever. So, but she got so mad she hit me with a broom. I'm like 8.
Goodness.
Yeah. And the reason I'm saying this is because it ain't fun getting hit with a broom. And so this ICE officer is chasing a illegal alien, and
he was in a car, and the car crashes.
Yeah.
And the illegal alien gets out of the car and starts to run away.
Mm-hmm.
Cop chases him down on foot, and that's when they get into a scuffle.
Yeah, and then two other guys end up coming out of an apartment complex, and they start beating up the ICE agent. So then it's 3 against 1.
Yeah.
I'd be a little bit more concerned about the shovel, personally.
I thought so too. Like
that can crack a skull.
Yeah.
Well, luckily my old grandmother was too weak to actually be able to lift up a shovel. I was safe from the shovels. Plus, we didn't have a lot of snow shovels in California. There was that aspect of it, too. Are we working on TV now?
Breaking news, we're working on TV.
Look at that. We're working on TV. All right, very good.
Hey, you want to hear how the New York Times did the story?
Sure. Go ahead, Joan.
The headline says, federal agent shoots immigrant in Minneapolis, Homeland Security says.
Wow.
These people, and I know everybody says the same thing all the time, you don't hate the media enough. You don't hate them enough.
You know what? I had a lot of people comment on yesterday's 5 o'clock hour when I had that thing with Fox News, not Fox News, Channel 5.
Yeah.
Channel 5. And that had to be some of the worst reporting I've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the deal. I've seen a lot of really bad reporting. That was absolutely abhorrently terrible reporting by Channel 5. I guess they're so distracted by, trying to hunt down white supremacy that they can't be bothered with
and Christian nationalists.
And don't forget, I sent you guys the other day, Phil Williams was asking for protest photos following Renee Good's situation.
Was he going to scan them for white supremacists?
Well, he wanted to share them.
To make sure he shared them so that he could gin up some more controversy.
Yes.
Good old Phil. Anyway, more from what happened in Minneapolis last night after an ICE agent had to defend himself against not one, not two, but 3 people who were battering him with brooms and snow shovels.
Fearing for his life and safety as he was being ambushed by 3 individuals, the officer fired defensive shots to defend his life. The initial subject was hit in the leg. All 3 subjects ran back into the apartment and barricaded themselves inside. The attacked officer and subject are both in the hospital. Both attackers are in custody. This attack on another brave member of law enforcement took place while Minnesota's top leaders, Governor Walz and Mayor Frey, are actively encouraging an organized resistance to ICE and federal law enforcement officers. Their hateful rhetoric and resistance against men and women who are simply trying to do their jobs must end.
So now you have, Tim Walz. I've got some audio from this. Tim Walz had I guess what you would call a primetime presser last night. And it's the same old stuff with this guy, Tampon Tim. and he's demonizing ICE. He's demonizing, federal law enforcement. And it's all just the same stuff. Because what they're trying to do, what's interesting is Tim Walz keeps saying, and so does Jacob Fry, they keep saying, don't take the bait, right? They're calling for peace. They're calling for, calm. Well, the reality is that those are just words. But the other words that they're saying, talking about the demonization of ICE and they're, disappearing people and kidnapping people and, ripping people off the streets. That's why these people are doing what they're doing, which is, lighting fireworks and throwing it at law enforcement, throwing things at law enforcement, attacking law enforcement, and the rest of this nonsense. So when these morons on the left get a face full of pepper spray or whatever that stuff is, you know what? They can thank Tampon Tim because and Jacob Fry because they're the ones that are inspiring all of this. It is 5:15. Got a lot more straight ahead. Yeah, Governor Walz, breaking news. Donald Trump wants this chaos. Donald Trump does not want this chaos. Donald Trump is trying to stop the chaos. By the way, speaking of chaos, Iran, it looks like, I don't know what you've seen this morning, Joan, but it looks like the situation with Iran is not nearly as tense. Supposedly now, they did not, we talked about this yesterday. Remember Iran, they're going to execute that protester. Donald Trump said, you're not going to execute him. There's going to be big problems if you do. Iran has backed down. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of layers with Iran. We're going to get into all of that and a whole lot more. Straight ahead, it is Nashville's Morning News, 5:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
The only trouble spot this morning is in Napier. It's a crash at Charles E. Davis Boulevard at Green Street. Otherwise, looking good so far this morning. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan, 5:15. You know what? I don't have my weather in front of me. Hey, here's what I know about the weather. It is flipping cold outside.
Flipping cold. So cold and breezy today. And then a brief warm up on Friday. But the breezy today means that things are it's going to go up to 35 degrees in the sun, but it's not going to feel like 35 degrees because of the breezes. So there you go.
Is everybody's phone working today?
I'm not on Verizon.
You're not on Verizon?
Yeah. But my kids that live in Maryland, they are all on Verizon, and I couldn't get in touch with anybody last night. Because mom was freaking out.
I had because my daughter and I were both very busy, so we actually have to, believe it or not, schedule phone calls.
Yeah,
we're constantly texting back and forth, but you like to have conversations. And I mean, we tried all day.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get a call out. Yep. So is everything working now with Verizon?
Verizon, yes, says everything's working now. And I'm going to have a story about that coming up in the 6 o'clock newscast about how they're going to make good on that outage, that day-long outage yesterday.
What happened? Do we know?
I don't know quite yet.
Could we blame Iran? Was it like Iran? Was it North Korea?
That was what I was thinking too.
See, I think, you know what?
Iran is not capable of anything like that.
I am so conspiracy, riddled that a light bulb goes out in my house and I think it's North Korea. You know what I mean?
Do you unscrew it and check to see if there's something inside listening to you? I think we're all kind of that.
Yeah.
Is it just me?
No, it's not just you.
Okay.
I'm doing the same kind of stuff. So
China?
Or it's China. It could be China. It could be Iran. But you say they're not capable? I don't know if they're capable or not. I've interviewed. Well, listen, I'm not dismissing your credibility, Sam, because you're a very smart guy. I've interviewed a lot of people that says that Iran does have that capability, but I really don't know.
On a lesser nation, probably.
Yeah, but not on us.
Not on us.
Okay.
So, did you happen to see the interview last night with Brett Baier and Iran's foreign minister?
You know what? I didn't see it.
My gosh.
All right, sure. I've got a couple of clips.
Yes, good.
And so just so you folks know how I usually do my show prep, I wake up, I fully flesh out like 2 or 3 topics, and then I have like sort of sidebar topics, that I will work on while I'm here. So that's one of those sidebar topics. But describe it, Joan, because I actually literally don't know what happened.
So the guy was gaslighting every single issue, lying his face off. His what he was going with was those people who were killed in Iran, they weren't killed by the Iran government. They were killed by the Mossad, who came into Iran and shot them all in order to get the U.S. into Iran to start a war.
Wow, that is circuitous.
Oh, yeah. It was crazy. This guy was the lies that were coming out of his mouth. And sometimes Brett Baer's a little soft on his approach, but he wasn't last night with this guy. He was going right at him.
You know what? I think I found this.
Yeah.
It's 2 minutes and 19 seconds.
Okay.
So
it's pretty good. I mean, honestly.
Well, I don't have time to do it now. So maybe at 5:35 we'll play this audio from Iran's foreign minister, whose Israeli Mossad agents are killing protesters, police, and starting fights inside Iran to draw Trump into a conflict.
It was really, and at the end of it, you know, he was so defensive because Brett Baer kept on saying, yeah, but our reporting shows this. Yeah, but our reporting shows this. And he just lied all through it. And at the end, when he said goodbye, he had this big smile on his face. And he just wanted to, you know,
Clip that.
Uh-huh.
Okay, moving right along.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll do that. I have a lot to talk about this morning. Looking forward to including you. Have you seen the growth in Gallatin? There is a story out. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but there is a story in the news about how incredibly fast Gallatin is growing. I thought Mount Juliet was growing quickly. Gallatin, oh my goodness gracious. So we're going to talk about that as well. We have a lot to talk about. It is Nashville's Morning News, 520 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, going to get the Super Text line up and running, 615-737-9986. You know, Joan, we're talking about the media.
Yeah.
So did you see the story of the woman who was dragged out of her car?
Yes.
And she claimed that she was disabled and just going to the doctor.
She had a brain, something wrong with her brain.
Oh, she's got something wrong with her brain.
Oh,
all
yeah,
right.
that's what I was thinking too.
We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead. 521 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan's got the news coming up at 5:30. Joan.
Yeah, we'll tell you why today may be the day that President Trump gets a Nobel Peace Prize. We'll explain. And why the FBI raided the home of a Washington Post reporter. Those stories and more coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
525, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So now people, Joan, from other parts of Middle Tennessee are saying, well, Gallatin might be growing, but what about White House? What about Columbia? Listen, all of Middle Tennessee is blowing up I would say blowing up in a good way. Other people would say not blowing up in a good way because a lot of folks that don't like people coming into our region. But I think that, it's nice to have people coming in. It's a lot better than living in places like California where everybody is trying to run from the state and Gavin Newsom. So we'll get into all of that here in a little bit. There is a woman. I need some video here if we could. There is a woman who made headlines here in the last couple of days. She, stop me when you've heard this before. She's in her car, and it's in Minnesota. And she's refusing to get out of the way. The ICE agents are saying, go down that road, go down that road. And if you can see on Super Talk TV, I'll explain it to folks on the radio, where they're telling her which way to go. And she's playing Mickey the Dummy. Like, what? What am I doing wrong? And she won't go where she is supposed to go. Instead, she's just arguing. And by the way, as all of this is going on, you've got all these people that are surrounding ICE as they're trying to tell this woman which direction she's going to go. Because what she's ultimately doing is she's blocking ICE from doing their job. And she simply will not get out of the way. So then, and again, hearkening to yesterday's show, they pull her out of the car. She starts screaming. Let me fast forward this a little bit. They pull her out of the car, and she starts screaming. She's handicapped and she just wants to go to the doctor. That's all she wants to do. She's crying. She's holding onto the door. They're now trying to pick her up from behind. And it turns into a complete train wreck. And of course, this is exactly what the Democrats want. This is exactly what the media wants. So now she became, of course, a cause celeb. Well, now we know who this is. She's not just some innocent woman who is on her way to the doctor. Turns out her name is Elia Rahman. And she is a U.S.-born citizen and social justice warrior. They say that she is a social justice trainer who dedicates her life to racial justice, similar causes, and LGBTQ-type issues. Now, Sam, I might need your help on this one. She identifies as being a gender queer and apparently was dating or is dating a transgender. Can you do that math for me? So if somebody is a gender queer, I'm not entirely certain. I don't know, Joan, do you know what a gender queer is?
I haven't. No, I'm trying to still figure it out in my head, too.
Okay, so somebody...
Very sad, broken person, from what I gather.
There you go.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what does a gender queer identify as?
Well, queer means strange, so...
Gender queer refers to a person whose gender identity falls outside traditional male-female binary norms, encompassing identities to include non-binary, gender fluid, agender, and is also the title of a... Never mind. It's sad.
It's the word strange with extra steps.
Yeah.
And if you're, I guess, did they specify their partner's identity?
No, just a transgender. What'd you say, Joan?
Don't use they. It's a her.
Third
she.
person, they is in...
Oh, no, yeah, okay. Did I say they? Whatever.
No, she was saying no.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. So this woman identifying as gender queer, dating a transgender, I can't keep all this straight. Like, I truly can't.
Neither can they.
You're right. She's had several run-ins with the law, but so now we know. So this woman who was portrayed as a victim in the media, if you see the video, they queued up the video right to when ICE was pulling her out of the vehicle, and she's screaming like a genderqueer. And now we know that sounds like she was intentionally blocking the roadway. And she is a social justice warrior, social justice causes, all of these LGBTQ type issues, and some sort of a social justice trainer as well. So, no, she wasn't just some innocent handicapped person that was going to the doctor, although
she wasn't there to ask them a query.
Wah.
Wah. 5:30 on WTN.
Good morning. It is 5:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. And Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Machado is in the U.S. She's meeting with President Trump today.
On Capitol Hill last night, the focus was back on Venezuela. Vice President Vance casting a tie-breaking vote to reject a measure that would have limited President Trump's power to conduct further military action in that country. Trump meets today with Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Machado.
That's ABC's Nicole D'Antonio. Now, Machado has said last week that she wanted to thank Trump personally for the action against Maduro and that she wanted to give him the Nobel Prize that she won, the Nobel Peace Prize. The FBI has raided the home of a Washington Post reporter. Hannah Natanson says that the agents confiscated all of her electronic devices as part of a leak investigation into a Pentagon employee. ABC's Stephen Portnoy reports that Pentagon employee apparently leaked information about a certain investigation.
Hannah Natanson described how she received information that employees were not supposed to share, with one staffer from the Justice Department telling her, quote, "I never thought I'd be leaking info like this, but I've always felt a sense of duty to do what's right for the country and the citizens." And she quoted a Defense Department worker who said, "I understand the risks, but getting the truth and facts out is so much more important."
Now, the story that appeared in the Washington Post was about how Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro was reaching out to Russia, China, and Iran to boost his country's military capabilities. Murfreesboro police are investigating the crash of a vehicle into a building at Westbury Farms on New Salem Highway last night. No injuries reported. It's not clear if anyone's been arrested. That is the latest news. We've got your traffic and weather ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Just a little slow on 65 southbound heading into the Goodlettsville area. Otherwise, on 65, 2440, everything checks out great. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
536, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk at 99.7 WTN. Hello, good morning. Thursday, January 15th. All right, I've had some throat coat, Joan, so I hope that I won't have the issues I just had in the previous segment.
Yeah, you're a little snarkly this morning.
Snarkly? It smells like it sounds like I've been drinking, I've been smoking a bunch of Pall Malls, you know? Like I make that joke sometimes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's...
do me a favor and keep your germs over there? Like
okay,
way
Joan.
over there?
Sure. No, it's just the usual throat crud that I sometimes get. Yeah. Anyway, so a couple of audio things that I really want to do today. That testimony with Josh Hawley as he is trying to get one of these just fantastically stupid professors to, define what a woman is. So I'm not sure if you've heard that. It is...
This is too funny.
It is so funny. So we're going to get into that. But first... I want to, let me find out where that's coming from. I want to play this audio of and Joan, you were telling me about this. I have not heard this. This is Brett Baer, and he's talking to the foreign minister of Iran, who he is claiming that Israeli terrorists are actually the ones that are causing all of the chaos in Iran. And as you said, Joan, apparently he is gaslighting America. And Brett Baer wouldn't let him off the hook. Here's how it went.
For one reason, they wanted to increase the number of deaths. Why? Because President Trump has said that if there are killings, he would intervene. And they wanted to drag him into this conflict. And that was exactly an Israeli plot. They wanted to drag the President of the United States in this conflict.
So he's saying it's Israel. It's like an Israeli plot.
Yeah.
I had kind of like a text argument with somebody about this yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yes. Like, I mean, everybody's free with their own opinion, but it's like, give me some proof.
Yeah.
Like, just give me a shred of it. And you know what? I don't like to argue with people when I'm off. Like, when I'm off doing stuff, the last thing I want to do is talk about Iran and Israel and all.
So what was this person saying to you?
Benjamin Netanyahu is behind this. It's all Bibi's fault.
This guy said, this foreign minister said they came in. I don't know if this was part of what you just played. They came in, they used Daesh-style terrorist operations. They got police officers, burned them alive, beheaded them, and then started shooting at police officers and also at people.
Wait a minute. You mean what Hamas did to Israel?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right? Because that's exactly what Hamas did.
Yeah.
All right, here's more.
So they started to increase the number of deaths by killing ordinary people, by killing police officers, by starting a kind of, fighting inside the different cities.
Mr. Foreign Minister, you're saying that
Now, the look on Brett Baer's face.
I know.
The look on Brett Baer's face. You don't see that look often. I like Brett Baer. Some people don't. I like Brett Baer. But the look on his face is like, are you kidding me? Really, this is where you're going with this?
Mr. Minister, you're about to tell me that the exact same plan that you executed against the Israelis through Hamas is what happened to you? You didn't get that idea from anywhere else?
Inside the different cities.
Mr. Foreign Minister, you're saying that these killings, these deaths are at the hands of foreign elements inside your country, not by the Iranian regime. That's not what we're being told when we get people to talk to us on the ground. The internet has been shut off, but occasionally turns back on, and we do hear from people on the ground who tell us various stories. Witnesses spoke of seeing snipers positioned on rooftops in downtown Tehran, firing into crowds of peaceful protests, turning abruptly into scenes of carnage, panic as bullets pierced through people's heads and torsos, sending bodies toppling to the ground, and an emergency room treating 19 gunshot patients in a single hour. The regime is on a killing spree, said one protester, and we've seen the video of body bags stacking up. You are saying that all of this is because you're not in control of your country and foreign elements are killing people inside your country?
No, I'm telling you that it was a fighting between our security forces and terrorist elements who had a plan to create a big number of killings in order to provoke President Trump to enter into this conflict and start a new war against Iran. And that was exactly an Israeli plot. The footages that you mentioned have not been seen in Iran.
This dude sounds as credible as Vladimir Putin.
It was honestly the most astonishing interview I had ever seen.
I have to tell you that a misinformation campaign is going on at the same time.
And you're suggesting that it's Israel and Mossad acting like Iranian forces, shooting the Iranian people to make casualties to spur on the action of President Trump. I'm just saying there's a lot of people that don't believe that, Mr. Foreign Minister.
No, Mossad has already confessed that.
They may be on the ground, sir, but as far as them killing hundreds and hundreds of people to make it look like you did, it does not appear in the video that we get out.
Yeah, there you go. Brett Baer. Hey, do you ever wonder why they even bother to interview, Iran's foreign minister as they get out here and try to defend what they've been doing? By the way, so breaking news on CNN is that Donald Trump, and I have this as part of my news stories today, the president did say yesterday that, yes, indeed, it does look like things may be calming down in Iran. Now, I don't know if that's true or not because we don't really know what's happening on the ground in Iran. Here's what I do know. I do know that you have the folks in Iran, the regime in Iran. I do believe that they're pretty scared. I do believe that they are not having a good time realizing that Donald Trump, and this is part of the news cycle today, that Donald Trump is sending our warships into the Red Sea. I think it's the Red Sea, into their region. And so now they're looking at all of this and they're saying, okay, so now the American military apparently is getting involved. They did not execute that 26-year-old man. His name is Irfan Soltani. We spoke to Stephen Bucci yesterday about all of this. He's a foreign policy guy with the Heritage Foundation, and this is part of what he had to say.
Them executing this one guy, okay, it's a tragedy. They're killing people all over the country, like continually right now. They're just firing with live ammo, not riot control stuff, into crowds in Tehran and all the other big population centers. They have basically killed way more people in repressing this essentially a couple week-long event than they have in any of the other ones before it. So this is pretty serious. When a regime is that over the top in their response, it means they're feeling weak, not that they're feeling strong.
That actually makes a lot of sense. So now the latest on this, the president has sent a carrier strike group to the Middle East. The group has to go from the South China Sea to what's known as the U.S. Central Command Area of Responsibility, which would be the Middle East. And what's your estimates on the number of people killed? They're all over the place.
So yeah, I grokked it. And so take into consideration that there's that internet blackout that they are keeping their civilians under. So like I guess the more official reporting would be 500 to 3,400 people just in the week of January 8th to 15th. But other reports are saying it can be anywhere from 12 to 20,000.
12 to 20,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what it jives with what I was saying yesterday, where some people are saying this is how crazy it gets. It could be from 2,000, 3,000, all the way up to 20,000. And they've got, does it say how many people they believe may or may not be jailed? Because yesterday the number was something like 18,000. And it was crazy, the amount of people that they were talking about that were jailed. And you never know what Iran's going to do with all of those people they've got in jail. Are they going to kill them? Are they actually going to release them? Part of what they're trying to do, in my opinion, part of what Iran is trying to do is pacify Donald Trump. Because, and remember what I said yesterday, is Donald Trump literally said, if you execute this guy, there will be problems. And so I think that was sort of Donald Trump's red line. And as Stephen Bucci said, listen, the one guy, okay, we can talk about the one guy, but let's talk about the amount of people that Iran has been killing. I mean, just out in the streets. We just heard the reporting with Brett Baer and the interview with one of the Iranian leaders there, where they were talking about, snipers on buildings and just killing people indiscriminately who may be out on the streets protesting. So you've got a lot going on in Iran. They do have that military, they do have that internet blackout in Iran. So we really don't know if it's true that Iran is starting to scale back. Donald Trump said yesterday that he does believe that the tensions are decreasing a bit in Iran. Do we know how many people jailed?
So there's a couple of different reports on it. One of the activist groups says it could be somewhere in the 18,000 range to almost 18,500. But the U.S. State Department's official numbers as of yesterday, it's going to be just a hair over 10,000. And tracking with that on the arrestees, the amount of people that could have been killed, people forget this is a country of 90 million.
It's huge.
There's plenty of fodder, unfortunately.
One of the things, Joan, have you seen this? And I don't have an example. Maybe you can find one for me.
Yeah, what?
You have the women in the hijabs.
Yeah.
And they're taking to social media. And basically what they're doing is they've got their hijab on, and some of them even have the face coverings too. And they're ripping them off.
Yes.
And
I've seen this.
And here
they have very brave messages written on their T-shirts after they rip off the hijab.
Oh, what did they say? One of them said F.
Yeah.
And here's the crazy thing is that I'm just going to say this. It's very striking because it's the very familiar sight that we've seen, women in hijab and the face coverings and all that.
Yeah.
They rip them off, and underneath, I mean, the most beautiful young women.
Yes. Yes.
And the irony of basically Iran being taken over by a leftist regime in the late 70s, that people were proudly putting the hijab on, and all the women in universities were proudly doing it like they are now in America with the kathiyas as well, where they proudly wear something they have no idea what it actually means.
This is a woman, she went viral. I think she's a TikToker, but she's Iranian, got video here. She's an Iranian, and she's talking about how important what is going on in Iran. She's talking about how important it is that these protesters ultimately are successful.
We are in the middle of the Iranian Revolution. After 47 years of Islamic oppression by those terrorist ayatollahs, Iranians are rising up. Iranians are fighting back. It's full-on civil war in occupied Iran right now. This is the moment that we Iranians have been preparing for the last 47 years since the Islamic Republic occupied our country back in 1979. Iranians are fighting back against Islam. They're fighting back against the Islamic Republic. They're fighting back against Sharia law. It's literally Iran versus Islam. What's happening right now in occupied Iran, I'm telling you, this is going to be bigger than the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Stephen Bucci kind of said the same thing yesterday, where he talked about how this could be the most important development in the Middle East in decades and decades. So we'll have to see ultimately what happens. This could be a time of transition for Iran. I remain concerned that if we get involved, what is the plan for what's next? And that's one of the things, and I'll get into this probably in the 6 or the 7 o'clock hour, but that's one of the things that I asked Stephen Bucci. Okay, so you've got the military, you've got the Islamic Republic Guard or whatever it is. So you got them, and so are they going to help in the transition? And here's the big problem that you could see in Iran is that if you see the military factions within the military start warring each other, you're going to have, this woman's talking about an all-out civil war, but here's the problem is that if you ultimately end up having the military fighting, you've got all of these other groups in Iran that will also fight to fill that power vacuum, and we could end up with something perhaps even worse than we already have. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. If we're going to go in and we're going to do something, then we need to make sure that there is some sort of a plan.
I was talking to my best friend who served 4 years in the Army and was stationed in Afghanistan and Iran. And he said, we should just DoorDash them some guns. let's wait for the faction that we like that'll align with our interests to come out. We'll just DoorDash them some weaponry and let them do.
Yeah, and unfortunately, sometimes, as we found out in the past, that weaponry gets into the wrong hands.
Well, that's if you just leave it in the Afghanistan desert for the Taliban.
Like Joe Biden? Yeah.
It was $85 billion. I'm talking about a few million. Not 85
By the
billion.
way, in Minnesota, now we're kind of jumping around all over the place, and we'll get more focused in the 6. Do you know what happened last night in Minnesota? Have you seen this, Joan? So in Minnesota, after the ICE agent shot that one guy after he was ambushed by 3, you now have some of these people. What's that?
All heck broke loose.
All heck broke loose, and they're apparently stealing the weaponry of ICE officers. They were breaking into their cars. They're vandalizing the cars. They broke into the cars and the vans, and they absconded with weapons.
Whoa.
So, yeah, that is part of what happened last night in Minneapolis. Headline from CNN, tense protests after federal agent shoots man in Minneapolis after said man was attacked by not 1, not 2, but 3 people with broomsticks and snow shovels. By the way, one guy says that, and Joan, you would probably maybe know more than I would about snow shovels. One guy says snow shovels are flimsy and weak.
Oh, that's insane. Can you shovel heavy snow with something that's flimsy and weak?
No, you can't.
Give me a break.
You know what? You yell at him on the super text line, Joan. You go, girl.
Where is he? I'm going to find him.
I don't know. We're getting a lot of input today.
Just a reminder, Kyle Rittenhouse was attacked with a skateboard.
There you go. All right, it is at 5:53. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan's got the news at 6. Joan.
Yeah, coming up is NATO showing a little muscle to fend off President Trump. Also, what Verizon has to say about that big service outage yesterday. It's coming up at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
5:57, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you. All right, so we've got a big show planned. We've got Matthew Hurt. He's going to be joining us at 6:36. I don't know if you folks saw this. There's a new poll out of Michigan. You know what the headline is? A dire warning for Democrats in the state of Michigan because they've got some elections coming up, and I'll be able to get into all of the details coming up. But the Republicans are faring very well in Michigan, a battleground state that, as you know, Donald Trump won the last go-round. And so everywhere you look, the media will say, oh, the Democrats are going to take the midterm elections. And, you know, there's dire warnings for Republicans everywhere you look. The Democrats going to take the House and, you know, bad for Trump, bad for Trump, bad for Republicans, bad for Republicans. I'm telling you. And I may be wrong on this. And if I am, I'll probably never live it down with some of you folks. But I believe that we're not going to fare nearly as bad as some people are thinking in the midterm elections. I just don't. Because I think that there's a lot of good economic news that is going on out there. I think that the American people, by and large, despite the lunacy, despite the insanity of the Democrats, I think, as I've said before, I think that you've got center-left Democrats and independents that are looking at the insanity of what is going on in Minneapolis, and they're not buying it. They don't like it. The American people, by and large, like law and order. It's just the radical left that the Democrats are, you know, really trying to appease that is, I believe, going to continue to drag down the Democrat Party. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Got a lot more straight ahead. It is Nashville's Morning News. By the way, Super Text line very active today this morning, 615-737-9986. Watch us on YouTube. Watch us on Facebook. Watch us on X. Download the podcast anytime, 997WTN.com. Apple Podcast, Spotify as well. Got a lot more straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Iran has reopened its airspace after a 5-hour closure last night. It comes amid concerns about possible military action between the U.S. and Iran. Meantime, the U.S. was withdrawing some personnel from bases in the Middle East. We'll continue monitoring those developments. Yesterday's White House meeting between the U.S. and Denmark and Greenland could be described as being icy. ABC's Mary Bruce says there was no agreement on the U.S. taking over Greenland or having it become a territory.
President Trump has been very clear. He argues that the U.S. needs Greenland for national security, and he has not ruled out using military force to get it. And of course, Denmark is our NATO ally. They've stressed that they are happy to work with the U.S. to bolster security in the region. But as Trump ramps up these threats, the Danish are now sending their own message. They're increasing their military presence in Greenland and asking other NATO allies to help.
Yeah, in fact, some NATO members are deploying small numbers of troops to Greenland for what they call a joint military exercise. In fact, French President Emmanuel Macron calling it Operation Arctic Endurance. Germany, Sweden, Norway, they're also sending troops for this operation. Verizon says it's going to credit customer accounts for that huge long outage yesterday. But you're going to have to ask them for it. It won't automatically appear. It's been resolved, but some customers are still having trouble. Channel 4's Marius Payton on that.
Verizon suggests you restart your device to reconnect to the network. The outage prevented people from sending texts and making calls, including to emergency officials.
Now, the old turn on your phone and turn it off again, that works every time. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
Stock futures were higher overnight after the major indexes posted losses on Wednesday. The Dow Jones fell 42 points yesterday to close at 49,149. The S&P gave up 0.5%. The Nasdaq surrendered 1%. Shoppers were out in force for the holidays. Retail sales bumped up by a better than expected 0.6% in November compared to October. The Commerce Department numbers were delayed because of the government shutdown. Banks likewise enjoyed brisk business in the fourth quarter, especially in the loan department. Bank of America and J.P. Morgan Chase both say the average consumer loan was nearly 10% higher than in the final 3 months of 2024. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Dow futures up right now, 45. The NASDAQ futures gaining 222. S&P futures, they're up 27. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather. Next, I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Still nice and quiet on the roads this morning, although now we're starting to see the traffic stacking up on 24, the westbound lanes, starting in the Laverne area. Same thing after 65 and 24, the split there. If you're traveling in from the north, things are starting to slow down there as well. 40 so far looks good. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.606 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Hope you are doing well, and welcome on in to a Thursday. How do I not know what day it is, Joan? Help me. Is today Thursday?
Today's Thursday.
It is Thursday. It's podcast day. Me and Matt and that Chris Handfeller, we're going to record our podcast today. Remember, Mostly Peaceful is now me, Chris, and that Murphy Show guy. So all three of us are partaking in the Mostly Peaceful podcast. It is indeed Thursday or Friday Eve. The reason I'm so discombobulated, Nick Shirley, have you seen the highlights of Nick Shirley's new video? It is insanity. So what's happening, and I'm going to do some of this in the 7 o'clock hour, but now the Somalis in Minnesota, they're really fighting back. They are threatening Nick Shirley. And I've got coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, probably 7:05, I'm going to play some of this audio because, again, and show you some of the video as well for people on Super Talk TV, because it is crazy. They are threatening him. And the bottom line is this. He's uncovered more fraud. Now, and again, I'll give you all the details in the 7 o'clock hour, but he has uncovered now not one, but two different ways, two new ways that the Somalis are ripping off the American taxpayers. So we'll get into all that in the 7 o'clock hour, but I got to tell you, Nick Shirley, What is that? What is that big prize that journalists get, Joan? I don't even know what it's a Pulitzer. Nick Shirley deserves a Pulitzer.
He absolutely does.
Do you know what I mean, Joan?
Yeah.
Like all of those reporters, was it, I'm going off the top of my head here, was it the New York Times and the Washington Post? They had won Pulitzers for their reporting.
For their fake reporting.
For the fake reporting on Russian collusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember that whole thing?
And here's how much Nick Shirley doesn't care about the accolades. He was on the Sean Ryan podcast recently, and he was talking about, how it's been received by people in the industry. And he said, somebody told me that maybe I should get a Pulitzer or what? How do you say that? And I'm like, wow, he doesn't even know. Like, that doesn't matter to him. He's doing the right thing that they won't do.
I
I just love it.
Yeah, no, and
He's
listen.
so innocent.
Do you know, how much do you know about Nick Shirley?
A little bit now.
So he is very Christian.
Yeah.
He's waiting for marriage.
Yep.
Okay. And he's very close to his mom. His mom is actually, at one point anyway, was his camera person.
But he stopped and he told Sean Ryan this. He asked her not to come anymore because it got too dangerous.
Yeah, the Somalis.
Yes.
All right, so we'll get into Nick Shirley and his newest video coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, 6:36. We have, we don't have Matthew Hurt at 6:36. We have Jonathan Fahey coming up at 6:36. My bad. I had to switch him around because Fahey's going to be on with Maria Bartiromo again today. So we'll talk to Jonathan Fahey coming up in the about 6:36 on WTN. All right, real quick. We've been talking about the very tense protests that have erupted, that did erupt overnight in Minneapolis. So for those of you that are just joining us, here's what happened. An ICE agent is chasing after a guy. He was an illegal alien, and the guy was driving a car. The ICE agent is chasing him. He finally captures the guy when two other guys come out of an apartment building and start beating the ICE agent with shovels and broomsticks. And snow shovels at that. And so now it's 3 against 1. And so the ICE agent, in fearing for his life, takes out his gun and shoots the original guy that he was chasing in the leg. And so now the media, as a matter of fact, this is the headline, protests erupt after federal agent shoots man in Minneapolis, not even talking about the fact that it was 3 against 1. And so now we have a couple of new headlines and things that I'm going to tell you as I go through all of this. The agent that was involved in the original shooting of Renee Good a few days ago, he ended up, we found out yesterday, with internal bleeding in the torso. So that has now been reported by CBS News. So this agent from the original shooting, dragged a while ago, months ago, now he has internal bleeding. We've talked about that first incident where he was dragged. The first incident where the agent was dragged in Minneapolis, he had to have 20 stitches in the right arm, 13 stitches in his left hand. Now he is suffering from internal bleeding because he got hit with Renee Good's car as he was opening fire in self-defense. So now we have another shooting overnight. All of this chaos is now erupting. Now you have videos overnight of rioters looting federal vehicles, was talking about that, stealing guns, stealing ammunition. There is all kinds of stuff that is going on right now. And Jacob Fry and Tim Waltz, Tampon Tim, they're not doing anything to calm things at all. I've got some incredible audio for you coming up here on Super Talk. There was a video out there of a woman, and I'm going to play this coming up. There's a video of a woman who made the rounds, and she was claiming, I talked about this in the 5 o'clock hour, where she was claiming that she was just going to the doctor and she was handicapped of some sort. Well, now we found out the rest of the story on this woman, and it's an exclusive from the Daily Mail, and it's a prime example of what we're seeing this morning on CNN, where there is an obfuscation of the truth. So this is Jacob Fry and the mayor, Jacob Fry, there in Minneapolis, after the shooting last night, and now the protests are happening. By the way, the protesters stealing guns, ammunition. They're also throwing fireworks at agents as well. This is Jacob Fry.
Imagine if that city or that town was suddenly invaded by thousands of federal agents that...
I love how he uses the term invaded, right? Notice the language that they're using. Notice the inflammatory language that they're using.
Do not share the values that you hold dear. Imagine if your daily routines were disrupted. The local cafe that you eat at was shut down because they're scared that their own family might get torn apart. Imagine if schools shut down and suddenly parents got to figure out what to do for daycare.
So that is Jacob Fry. Got a couple more cuts on this too. But here's the thing. When he says, imagine that your community is invaded, basically by people that don't share your values. Really? You're talking about ICE, who have arrested the worst human beings on earth. Child rapists, murderers, people that have committed homicide, armed robbery. I mean, I could go on, but I know that you've all heard this before. And so it's that kind of inflammatory language that gives the people in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, to quote Tim Waltz, the permission structure to attack ICE agents, and gives the media the permission structure to lie about what is really going on the ground in Minneapolis by simply saying, oh yeah, ICE agents shot another man, leaving out the part where he was being attacked, ambushed by 3 people, and they had brooms, like broomsticks, and snow shovels. So the guy pulled out his gun and defended himself as he should have. Got a lot more straight ahead. 6:15, time to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather goes, a cold start to the morning, warming to 49 degrees later on in the day. Going to stay partly cloudy but breezy. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I want to stay with Jacob Fry for a minute because yesterday during the show, I'm in the midst of an interview with, I don't know who I was interviewing, but I'm looking, Joan, across the glass at Sam, who is laughing hysterically because Jacob Fry was being interviewed on Fox News. So
Sam and I had such a good time listening to this yesterday.
Yeah, I couldn't watch it because I'm on the radio, right? So I was watching some of the highlights or the lowlights of Jacob Fry just being absolutely pummeled by Fox News. And so I think that for the Minneapolis mayor, he just looks terrible. I mean, this was on Fox News. Yeah, it was really bad. Listen to this.
You're seeing it in real time. You are aware that 18 U.S. Code 111 makes it a federal crime to impede, interfere, or even assault officers. And we see the protesters crossing a line of protesting, throwing rocks, hitting cars, and interfering in the federal government's view of their operation of carrying out federal immigration law enforcement.
We have had perhaps tens of thousands of people peacefully protesting in the streets. And at the same time, yeah, they are going to stand up for their neighbors. And
so they're going to stand up for their neighbors, and we got tens of thousands of people peacefully protesting. Be that as it may, the video that is out there, I would say to Jacob Fry, the video that is out there shows people attacking police officers and law enforcement officers and Border Patrol, depending on where we're talking about, or ICE and so forth. So I love how Jacob Fry, people are just standing up for their neighbors. Minnesota nice is what they call it, as a matter of fact. Listen, here's the deal. The bad guys are out there, And ICE is simply trying to arrest them, period. And there's not, peaceful protests going on. I mean, I'm sure that there are. But the reality is that you also have a lot of people, and I don't know how many people it is, but you have a lot of people that are indeed, as I mentioned before, they're lighting fireworks, they're throwing them at law enforcement, among many other things. And so, it's like gaslighting. It's like gaslighting all over again. You know what that was? That was the Jacob Fry version of Alejandro Mayorkas, The Border is Secure. That's what that is. There's more gaslighting. And I guess the Democrats, they just believe that we're going to listen and believe what they're talking about. But the reality is that we don't believe their lies because we can see exactly what is happening in a real time on social media and on live streams going on YouTube.
So Governor Walz has decided he's not going to run for re-election. Does Attorney General Keith Ellison bear some responsibility for why this fraud was so widespread and was able to go on for so long without being noticed?
I mean, it's a fair question. It is a fair question. And every time you turn it, listen, Nick Shirley has uncovered more about these Somali frauds. So we have that coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. I'm going to go ahead and give you a hint because I know that a lot of folks, they can only listen for a short period of time. New video that's out, Nick Shirley. And we've been previewing this the last couple of days where they've got these non-emergency medical transport companies run by Somalis. And they're companies in names only, but these companies don't exist. They don't have vans, they don't have patients, and they don't even have offices. These are people of Somalian descent who are getting federal money, your taxpayer dollars, to the millions and millions and millions of dollars, and they're not transporting anybody. And there's another one. I can't wait to play this audio for you. David Hoke. He is talking about how the Somali, you'll love this, Joan, the Somalis in Minnesota, when they have to go to the doctor, they suddenly forget how to speak English. And so they need a Somalian interpreter.
Yes.
You see this? So now you've got the government that is paying, I don't know to what extent that fraud is, but, it's a lot of money. And they're paying these Somalis to be interpreters for, these other folks that have been here for a while, and they know how to speak English, but it's all just another scam. Suddenly, they don't know how to speak English when they go to the doctor, so they're going to hire this Somali company that conveniently provides interpreters, and everybody gets a cut. I mean, these people are crafty, man. They really are. And by the way, the Nick Shirley audio is great because they're saying, you don't like us because we're Muslim. And Nick's like, no, man. We're just trying to get to the bottom of all this fraud. Here's what Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, says about the investigations into the fraud. Why has this been going on for so long?
Look, there have been investigations into this fraud now for years. People have been prosecuted. People have been convicted. And that's the way it should be. When you commit a crime in this country, you are held accountable and you go to jail as an individual. You go to jail as an individual. Entire communities, entire populations are not held accountable for the actions of the individuals that actually did it.
Can I ask a question? Then why is it that all Donald Trump supporters were implicated, if you will, after January 6th? Because how many of us, were blasted for what happened on January 6th? And I'm like, I had a lot of people in the aftermath of January 6th attacking me as being a Donald Trump supporter. So I guess my question back to these Democrats would be, well, I don't know, because, you said that we were a bunch of insurrectionists after January 6th. And here's the deal. What Jacob Fry just said about how, well, you can't implicate entire communities for the actions of a few individuals. Okay, that's right, but nobody is talking about the entire Somali community. What we're trying to drill down is what is going on with this fraud. That seems to be rampant with at least some individuals within the Somali community, and it seems to be pretty widespread. That's what people are saying. And when Nick Shirley is trying to get to the bottom of it, he is accused of being a racist and anti-Muslim.
And so that's where my position is. And again, if we care about the investigation of these crimes, and I do you find it concerning that all of the people that were actually investigating and prosecuting this crime just walked out? Do you find that concerning?
I actually don't find that concerning, because the reason why they walked out, and by the way, Pam Bondi says that they were actually fired, is because they say the Trump administration wanted them to investigate Rebecca Good, wife of Renee, because she was involved in these organizations that have been, committing all of these, heinous acts of, violence. And they're involved in all of these groups that are instigating all of this violence in Minnesota. So, yeah, I understand why the Trump administration wants to investigate the widow of Renee Good. I've got more on that coming up, 6:23 on Super Talk 99.7. Jones got the news coming up at 6:30.
Well, what the Tennessee House just did that could keep drag shows away from your kids. That's coming up here at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
TV. 6:24, Nashville's morning news, and yeah, it's cold this morning. It is freezing this morning, and if you've got a bunch of cold air coming into your home, guess what, friends? It is time for you to get new windows, courtesy of my friends at Window Nation. Listen, if 2026, I'm just going to tell you, in my house, we have decided that it is time for the home improvement projects that we've been putting off literally for years. If that's you as well, you got to call my friends at Window Nation if you need to upgrade your windows. Now, I've already done that through Window Nation. I've got 4 Window Nation windows in my home. And if you need new windows, call Window Nation right now. They've got a great deal. Buy 4, get 4 windows. That is going on right now. Buy 4, get 4 windows free from Window Nation. You can also get them with 0 money down, 0 monthly payments, and 0 interest for 2 years. Now, your new windows from Window Nation can be installed in a day or less. They've got a 96% customer satisfaction rating and over 45,000 reviews, 5-star reviews, 45,000 5-star reviews. This is a great company, and I got to tell you, I've rarely been happier with a home improvement project than when I worked with Window Nation. A lot of people have called Window Nation courtesy of Nashville's Morning News, and they all have said that Window Nation, they are a great company to work with. Now, buy 4, get 4 windows free from Window Nation. Also, you can get them with 0 money down, 0 monthly payments, and no interest for 2 years. 866-90-NATION is the phone number. 866-90-NATION, windownation.com.
Good morning. It is 6:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. It is cold this morning, 26 degrees and a little breezy, too, so it feels colder. And I'm hearing that there's snow showers in Manchester this morning from a super texter. It's only going up to 35 degrees today. President Trump has just suspended indefinitely issuing visas for people from 75 countries, all of them countries where immigrants come to the U.S. and become a so-called public charge. The White House says visa applicants should be self-sufficient and not at risk of becoming dependent on government subsidies during their stay in the U.S. Now, folks from Brazil, Colombia, Pakistan, Africa, and many others will no longer be able to obtain a visa starting next Wednesday, January 21st. The Tennessee House passed a bill that keeps drag shows far away from kids. Channel 4's Marius Payton on that bill.
Expands the definition of adult cabaret in the state current law. Classifies adult cabaret as something that features topless dancers, strippers, male or female impersonators, or similar entertainers.
Now, because of that reclassification, drag shows would be banned within 1,000 feet of a school, rec center, home, or place of worship. The bill heads to the Senate floor now for discussion. It is sentencing day for a Clarksville mother convicted of killing her disabled son. In October, a jury found Cheyenne Maddox guilty of the starvation death of her son, Kadaris. The 13-year-old was suffered from cerebral palsy and was confined to a wheelchair. That is the latest news. We've got your traffic and weather ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. There is a crash on Hermitage Avenue in Nashville. It's just east of Stanley Street. And in Lebanon, watch it on Sparta Pike, south of Eastover Road, an accident involving a vehicle and a deer. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
6:36, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Joan, I'm not sure if you're watching the Super Text line, getting notes from people that are saying it's snowing in some places within our listening area, which, by the way, our listening area is quite large, 100,000 watts of FM radio signal. And so
firepower.
Yes, that's exactly right. So apparently it's snowing in up north of us in Kentucky, in some places. And so here's what I'd like to do.
One of our super texters from Manchester says it's snowing down in my neck of the woods.
Okay, so if it's snowing where you are, I want you to text us safely and let us know, just so we know, where it is snowing, just so we can let folks know. It is 6:36. Jonathan Fahey joining us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Jonathan is our guy to talk about immigration, illegal immigration, stuff regarding the law as well. Jonathan, always great to have you on. Let's talk a little bit about Donald Trump. I've not even covered this in my show yet today, Jonathan. It's a very busy morning. But the president yesterday announcing that he was going to freeze visa processing for 75 countries, including Russia and Iran. This all came down yesterday. Countries targeted include Afghanistan, Brazil, Iran, Iraq, Somalia as well, Kosovo, and just 75 countries. And I think part of what the president is trying to do is just, get a handle on, we've got all these people coming into our country, and we're seeing rampant fraud associated with, either illegal immigration or even legal immigration as well. I mean, we're seeing what's going on in California, obviously Minnesota. What do you think of the president doing this?
I think this is great. And for too long, we've had this, that whatever we call it, an immigration system or whatever, that had nothing to do with protecting the interests of the American people, not only public safety-wise, but also fiscally. And I think one of the things that's really important that's been revealed by what's going on in Minnesota with the fraud is not just the fraud, but it's the rampant use of welfare from the entire Somali community. We're upwards 80 to 90%. So what does that tell us? It means they are costing taxpayers money. Whatever anyone wants to say about benefits they're bringing or enriching society or whatever, we have to at least acknowledge they're costing us a lot of money. And it does seem to me that the Trump administration, the focus is, number one, public safety and national security first and foremost, but also we're bringing in people that are going to cost the taxpayers money, that aren't going to assimilate or try to assimilate, which is the real worst part of it all. I think makes a lot of sense for the American people. And we're going to see this year, we're already seeing a lot of benefits from this, not just, his overall immigration policy, not just on safety, but also, wages are going up, prices of homes and things like that are going down, and rents are going down, and these things are all intertwined.
One of the things, and you're absolutely right about all of these things being intertwined. I was playing some audio from Jacob Fry earlier, the mayor of Minneapolis. One of the things that the Democrats are doing, and I know this is, I know and people listening know that this is a very oldest trick in the book, where they're trying to use as a defense, well, not all Somalis. Well, here's the thing, is that I never said all Somalis, but what I have said is that as a community, there is a lot of fraud in that community, and there's also a lot of these government benefits that is going to this community as well. And people chiming in on the super text line saying, yeah, but be willing to bet that it was well known what was going on inside the Somali community. Let me ask you this, Jonathan, is a guy who worked in the first Trump administration. How rampant do you think this is across America? I mean, we know about Minnesota, we know about California, but, that does leave states like Illinois and other blue states where there's probably a lot more fraud. We would probably, Jonathan Fahey, be horrified at the amount of fraud that America is experiencing.
Yeah, my take on all of these things, it's always worse than we think. So, yeah, I think it's rampant, and part of it is the Democratic Party is allowing this because we know they are looking at these groups or these people. They just look at them as votes. So if they have to turn the blind eye, but they get 95% of the Somali vote or whatever category you're talking about, they're more than willing to do so, and that's what happened in Minnesota. And just one real quick point on this thing where people are saying not all Somalis or this or that. Totally fair, but it's also not fair for people like the mayor of Boston to make these overly positive generalizations. If you can't make a generalization, you can't make a generalization, and she says you can't tell the story of the great things of all the things that Boston has done without mentioning Somalis, which I would challenge her on that premise. But it's just, the point is that it's like, yeah, if you can't generalize, you shouldn't generalize. But you can't have it both ways by talking about how great the Somali community is, but then you're not allowed to say, yeah, but they cost taxpayers billions, and that's before you even get to the fraud.
Well, and I get so frustrated, and I know that you do as well, because I am all for legal immigration or legal migration, but the question is always going to be asked, okay, so what's in it for us? What's in it for America? Who are we letting into our country, and can they contribute? And I mean, I think that's a fair question to ask. I mean, if you start, really looking, go state to state to state to state, and you look at, okay, so how many of these migrants or immigrants or whatever you want to say are on some sort of government benefit? And so that's not even fraud. That is just people who are here legally but taking advantage of the generosity of Americans. And I think that is also a very big point of frustration for the American people.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. Is like, what, you don't hire an employee unless you determine that person will benefit the company or the business. And it's like the same thing should be for the immigration. And for far too long in this country, as long as I've remember, illegal immigrants get showered with praise in this country. Most people go out of their way to say like 20 great things about immigrants and illegal immigrants and never get to anything negative. And what's happened during this time is we have people that don't even try to assimilate, and that should be the main thing is, are you contributing, not taking tax dollars, but also, are you trying to be a part of America? And then you have places like the Somali community where I think the percentage of people that don't even speak English after 10 years is something like 37%, at least that's what I've heard. So it does show that, you're not even trying to assimilate to this country, and people have a right to be offended by that. If you want to come to this country, you should say, I want to be a part of it, be a part of its traditions, and I want to contribute, not what can I get for myself and who else can I bring over to get the same things. And it's just gotten so out of hand. But the truth of this whole thing is, with the Democratic Party, a core part of their electoral strategy is illegal immigration. I mean, they've decided at some point, abandon the working class, and they are full on open borders, mass amnesty. And that's why they're going bananas with with the deportations that Trump's doing, is because they're looking at votes leaving. And that's what's going on here.
All right, coming up, and there's also, when you have, and you and I have talked about this before, and I speak with Senator Haggerty about this all the time too. They bring all of these folks into blue cities and blue states, and then they're counted in the census, and that means that, of course, they get more representation in the House of Representatives as well. Coming up, Jonathan, I'm going to play a piece of audio for you, a video of I think this is a congressperson, and they're talking now about defunding ICE. We're going to talk about that straight ahead. 6:45, time to check the roads on WTN. All right, at 6:45, as far as your weather today, cold start to the morning, going to stay cold. Basically, I think, Joan, I'm seeing a high of about 33 today. That's what I've got. Yeah. All right, very good.
National Weather Service says 35, but I think we can meet somewhere in the middle.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Bottom line is, it's going to be cold, so appreciate it. It's 6:45 on WTN, and Jonathan Fahey is joining us. All right, I want to play this for you. This is a representative. Sharif Thanadar, I think, is that the person's name? Rather cartoonish-looking man, and this is what he says.
ICE is beyond reform. ICE is totally out of control, and this week I intend to introduce a bill to abolish ICE. We need to make ICE go away.
You know, Jonathan Fahey, we know how popular defund the police was. Apparently, they haven't gotten the memo that people want ICE to deal with the illegal aliens that are in our country.
Yeah, exactly. And it just shows how out of touch the Democratic Party is with the mainstream Americans' view on it. But, you know, give this congressman credit. He's actually saying what the standard Democrat position actually is. You know, they like the world of Biden administration where you still had ICE, but ICE didn't do anything. So then they could say, oh, we still actually enforce our immigration laws when in fact they didn't. But yeah, like this is the Democrat mainstream. And it didn't work out with the, defund the police. But think about this. If you go back to 2020, think what the far left was the most powerful they had ever been in that summer. I mean, every company had to, give money to these organizations and submit to the George Floyd rioters and all of this stuff. So the left was so powerful.
Jonathan, do you remember the whole thing about get on your knees and say Black Lives Matter? Do you remember that whole thing?
Yeah, exactly.
It was absolute BS, and that made me so mad because, I'm not going to be bullied by anybody.
Right, and every sports league had the slogans in the end zones or the end of the court, and it was utterly insane, and everyone had to participate in doing it. People lost their jobs for saying all lives matter and things like that. So the left liked 2020, and it was successful for them in the way they viewed it. They created chaos, and they got the White House back, and they were able to just go crazy that whole summer, burn everything down. How many statutes and name changes were in effect effectuated during 2020 because people were terrified to say anything. So they had the run of the country. So in a weird way, it helped them achieve a lot. But I think the average person isn't going down the George Floyd road again because it was an ugly time.
I don't know. Jonathan, headline from CNN, Renee Good's family hires George Floyd's legal team. I'm not shocked.
Wow.
I'm not shocked. Are you shocked?
I'm not shocked. I'll let them in on something. They're not going to be successful civilly suing DHS or suing this agent just as an FYI for them because this agent has qualified immunity and he was doing his job correctly.
Have you seen, so I don't know how, I know it's morning, I don't know if you've seen all the news, but last night in Minnesota and Minneapolis, you had an ICE officer chasing and caught an illegal alien. Two others came out and were basically ambushed him with broomsticks and snow shovels. So he shot one of the guys, the original guy he was chasing, in the leg. And then all three, of course, ran into an apartment, I guess, and now they've been arrested and so forth. But that sparked massive protests, very tense protests last night in Minneapolis. And, it does seem to me, Jonathan, that if you're being beaten by a snow shovel, you're allowed to pull out a gun.
Absolutely. And, the thing is particularly situations when there's multiple people, you don't know who else is coming out. It's extremely dangerous, and all of these people are being egged on by these politicians to do this type of stuff. So, there's really not a historical analog for a party or states to be basically wanting to nullify or void an entire federal law, and they're willing to do, you have to go back to Civil War, civil rights movements to see anything comparable to this. And it's really shameful that, more bad things are going to happen. And yet people like Tim Walz and Jacob Fry, that are so into just preserving their political status, and they have no courage to stand up for, the citizens or these law enforcement. And even their own law enforcement doesn't support Jacob Fry, which, people forget that he's not only anti-ICE, he's anti-cop. And, but the whole thing is just so shameful what's going on, and absolutely justified, at least based on the representations, it seems absolutely justified.
So do you think, last question, because I know you talk about politics as well, you think, and I'm going to ask Matthew Hurt this same question at 7:36, but you think all of this chaos is going to impact the midterm elections? I mean, let's be honest. I don't believe that, the majority of Americans are in line with all of this incessant nastiness being directed at ICE and law enforcement. I don't think they are, and I think this could have a boomerang effect on the Democrats.
Yeah, I don't think it'll help them, mainly because, one, the elections are too far away. So this idea that they have to keep up this nonsense for 9 more months, people will really have the George Floyd, fatigue out of this thing. And, the main thing we all know, if the economy is rocking and rolling and communities are objectively getting safer, which they are, I think the Republicans will be fine. I think Democrats are going to be hard-pressed to continue this for, another 8 or 9 months?
Yeah. I mean, we'll see, because you're right. There's going to be one thing after another, because it's my belief that your Tim Waltzes, your Jacob Frys, your Gavin Newsoms, I think that they thrive on the chaos. They thrive on the anger because, number one, it distracts from their own horrible record of mismanaging states. And number two, they thrive on anger. And so this is what they try to do. They try to gin up as much anger as they possibly can and try to carry that into voting day. And that's how they try to, get people to come out to the polls and vote for the Democrats. So we'll have to see what happens. Always great to talk to you, Jonathan Fahey, and we'll talk to you again soon. Real quick, how can people find you on X?
John for Fairfax.
All right, John for Fairfax. And if you can't find him, just follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show and look for Jonathan Fahey, and always appreciate his analysis. It is 6:52 on Super Talk 99.7. Hey, Joan, wait till you hear what Pramila Jayapal had to say.
Oh, brother.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was something engaging and meaningful and
No,
brilliant.
it really wasn't. But we're going to play it coming up here on Super Talk 99.7. Joan, what is coming up in the news?
We'll tell you what exactly happened before an ICE agent shot a man in Minneapolis last night. That's coming up here at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here for my friends at Stoltz Co. Now, this is a great Tennessee company. I've been talking about them for a long time. And yeah, they do continue to grow and expand. What can Stoltz Co. do for you? Now, you know that they build pole barns, and that these pole barns can be a garage, an event space, an equestrian building. You can even build a barn dominium. You can live in these pole barns. And these days, when you go through Stoltz Co., those barn dominiums, they are new and improved. They're offering you turnkey options. Now, that means that Stoltz Co. handles the design, the construction, and that all-important and amazing finishing touches. You turn the key, and you are home courtesy of Stoltz Co. And again, it can be used for anything you want. So if you have some land that needs a building for whatever you want, call Stoltz Co. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 615-622-5992. 615-622-5992. They've also got great social media. Find them on Instagram and Facebook to see examples of their incredible work around Middle Tennessee. STOLTZCO. StoltzCo.com. 6:58, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, I don't think I have time, Joan, to do this justice.
Okay.
But everybody knows who Pramila Jayapal is, right? She's this Democrat out of Washington. And I think she's part of the squad. Isn't she part of the squad? I don't believe she's squad adjacent. I think that she's just as nuts as AOC and Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. I just believe that she's a little more eloquent at it, but she still sounds, crazy as all get out. When I play you this audio from Pramila Jayapal coming up next, she's only just confirming her lunacy. So I'm going to play that. We've got the latest on Nick Shirley's video that he dropped yesterday regarding Somali fraud. It is absolutely incredible. And we do have Matthew Hurt. He's going to be joining us at 7:36 here on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Tim Waltz out there in Minnesota, governor, he's got a lot to say. He had a prime time address last night. We'll talk about that. All the latest from Iran, also straight ahead. Very busy morning here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. If you miss any part of the program, you can always go to YouTube. You can rewind it. You can watch the show, whatever you want to do. And that is posted right after the show at 9 o'clock if you want to just check out the entire thing. We also post podcasts of the radio broadcast as well. You can find those on Spotify. You can find those on Apple. You can find them at 99.7 WTN as well. It is 7 o'clock on WTN.
Good morning. It is 7 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Looks like it is 26 degrees right now, mostly cloudy skies. We'll go to 35 later on, but some folks have been reporting some snow showers in the areas this morning. You can check out the forecast coming up right after the news. Yet another ice shooting in Minneapolis last night. Here's ABC's Dave Packer with that story.
DHS says a person from Venezuela they were targeting attempted to evade arrest and violently assaulted the officer. That's when they say two others came out of a nearby apartment and also attacked law enforcement with a snow shovel and a broom handle. DHS adds that's when the original subject got loose and also began striking the officer, who they say feared for his life and fired defensive shots, striking the initial subject in the leg. The initial suspect and officer are both in the hospital. The two others are in custody. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Meantime, a judge has given the Trump administration the green light to continue ICE operations in Minnesota. It comes in response to that lawsuit that was filed on Monday by Attorney General Keith Ellison. The judge didn't outright reject the claims that the presence of ICE agents amounts to a federal invasion. That's what the lawsuit said. But she did say she needed more time to fully consider the facts of that case. Locally, too many cases of the flu, and it's led some school leaders in Perry County to close the schools down for the rest of the week.
The director of school says that students are testing positive for the flu, and the district says 14% of all students missed class yesterday due to seeing several sick staff members as well.
Channel 4's Joylyn Bukovac there. The Friday night basketball game is still on. However, here's the good news, though. The number of flu cases in Tennessee is beginning to decline. The state health department saying most people who do test positive, however, are testing positive for the flu A strain. Lebanon City Council has given the initial go-ahead for a massive new home development. It's called the Sorel. It would bring 300 new homes off Maplewood Road. But don't expect to see the big national home builders at this one. Councilman Joey Carmack saying that only local home builders will get these contracts.
I've said time and time again from sitting up here, I'm tired of the national builders coming in the city and to overrun it and then leaving and not caring what they left behind.
News 2 says the plan includes a realignment of Maple Hill Road and a roundabout as well. And the University of Washington says it's now investigating the actions of one of its researchers, Mara Morgan, who identifies as an autistic transgender, was quoted in a social media post as calling for the assassination of conservative voices. She wrote, "May there be Tyler Robinsons for you all." It was in response to somebody else's post about the biological differences between men and women. The University of Washington is already under investigation for its handling of anti-Semitic protests and incidents on campus. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. Everything pointing up on Wall Street futures. The Dow futures up 24. NASDAQ futures gaining 214. S&P futures are up 26. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. We've got a couple of accidents, one on I-440 westbound in Woodbine. This is just before Nolensville Pike, and it's off to the right shoulder. Bradley Parkway westbound in Whites Creek, just before Whites Creek Pike, there's a crash that takes out the right lane. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.706 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We have been talking about the massive, very tense protests going on in Minnesota last night after, as Joan reported, an ICE agent shot a man in the leg after being ambushed by two other guys who started hitting the ICE agent with broomsticks and a snow shovel. And Joan, a guy had texted into the super text line and said that he knew a guy who got a big old gash in his head from a snow shovel. Because snow shovels can be like metal too, right?
They can be metal. A lot of them are made with that hard plastic now.
Right.
But the metal ones are the ones that can hold the
heavy snow.
The really heavy snow, which, it looks like they got a lot of snow there in Minnesota, right?
Well, yeah, it snows all the time. Minnesota is like hell on earth, but it's cold.
So just out this morning at 8:04, just a couple of minutes ago, President Trump is threatening now to use the Insurrection Act if things don't improve in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. Yeah.
Good.
He said if the corrupt politicians in Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in that once great state. And then he said, of course, thank you for your attention to this matter.
I love that the president is talking about doing that. I mean, I think that's going to, heads are going to explode. But this has been going on for how long now in Minneapolis? It's been
really too long.
Yeah. I mean, Renee Good, she was shot. I mean, what was that? That was almost a week ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All right.
It was more than a week ago, I think. And so there was another video. I don't know if you've seen it. Nick Sorter put it up. He's one of those independent journalists that you see online. And it's they found one of the ICE vehicles and a bunch of guys, and they smashed it to pieces, and they opened the back and took out a rifle and ammo and all kinds of stuff.
Yep, I saw that. We did. I talked about that earlier. You were doing stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's part of what happened last night is the rioters, or the whatever you want to call them, that happened after the ICE, the member of ICE had to shoot in self-defense. And so that led all of these protests. And now they went in and they started vandalizing ICE vehicles and stealing guns and ammo. And they've also, by the way, also gotten their hands on some ICE uniforms.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And some ICE IDs as well, by the way. So, yeah, there's a lot going on right now. And, we'll continue to watch everything going on but you know what? CNN has actually updated their little headline. Protests in Minneapolis after Fed agent ambushed, shoots man in leg. So at least now in the headline, they're admitting that the ICE agent was ambushed, and they've got it in quotes, but whatever, he was ambushed. He chased the guy down. Yeah. He's got the guy. Two others come out with their broomsticks and their snow shovel. And so the dude shoots the original guy in the leg, and everybody scatters. So now I think they've got everybody in custody, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Joan?
Yes, I think so.
All right. So, ICE agent, absolutely, in my opinion, in the clear. We'll continue to watch that. And every time there's something that happens, what they do, when they come back and they just, the Jacob Frays and the Tampon Tims of the world, they just use these episodes where ICE agents justifiably have to fire their guns to defend themselves, and they use that to gin up more anger. Yeah. Now, Pramila Jayapal, what a bonehead. So listen to what she says about immigrants in the United States.
The majority of Americans across the country, regardless of political party, know that immigrants from all over the world, Somalia, India, wherever they're from, Latin America, Africa, that immigrants have built this country and make this country what it is today.
So I want to go down this road because this is making the rounds. First of all, right now, we are battling illegal immigration, people who are here illegally. As usual, she and the left, what they like to do is they like to conflate illegal aliens with legal immigration. Also, we did have immigrants that helped build this country. That is well documented. Immigrants from Europe, Ireland, all over the world. Chinese immigrants helped build the railroad. Throw in, of course, the Italians. We have had multiple immigrant groups that helped build America. But what's the point she's making? Like, that doesn't mean that we are obligated to accept this nonstop wave of illegal immigration. That's number one. Number two, yes, the immigrants that helped build America over the many, many, many years, you know what they were doing, Joan? You know what they were doing, Sam? They were contributing to society. They were contributing to America. What the topic of conversation is right now is the fraud that is connected with either illegal immigration or migration of these folks. They've come into this country, but they're not contributing. They're doing nothing but taking. That's what Jonathan Fahey and I were talking about.
And also, President Trump just stopped the immigrant visas from 75 countries because everyone comes here and goes right on welfare and becomes a war. I mean, we're paying for these people to live here. That's not what we need to be doing.
No, and that's not what all these immigrants of past generations were doing either. They came here, they wanted to contribute, they came here legally, and they learned English, they respected America, they loved America, they wanted to be Americans.
Yeah.
And what do we see in, Somalia soda and some of these other places? I mean, look, it's not racist to make an observation, is it? Is it racist to make an observation? No, it's not. Wait till you hear, I've got so much to do. Anyway, so that's Pramila Jayapal. She's an idiot. I could go on for an hour on this.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to, because I do want to talk about Iran. Let's do Iran. Things are continuing to escalate there, although it does look like there is some headway. I think President Trump, you know, when you're dealing with nations like Iran, part of what you need to do is you need to be a strong man, right? Donald Trump, there's no doubt that Donald Trump is a strong leader. Was Joe Biden a strong leader? Heck no. Was Barack Hussein Obama a strong leader? Heck no. They did more to harm the Iranian people because they gave, as I talked about in incessant detail yesterday, they gave Iran boatloads of money. They eased up on the sanctions, et cetera. I don't want to repeat yesterday's topic. That protester that they were going to execute, that now apparently they are not going to execute him. Guy's name is Irfan Soltani. We spoke to Stephen Bucci yesterday, a foreign policy military analyst with Heritage, and he talked a little bit about what is going on in Iran and how they are really reacting to Donald Trump.
Shooting this one guy, okay, it's a tragedy. They're killing people all over the country, like continually right now. They're just firing with live ammo, not riot control stuff, into crowds in Tehran and all the other big population centers. They have basically killed way more people in repressing this just, you know, essentially a couple week-long event than they have in any of the other ones before it. So this is pretty serious. When a regime is that over the top in their response, it means they're feeling weak, not that they're feeling strong.
And so I would say let's not get too excited because this one guy's life has been saved when, I mean, we are getting reports of, I mean, what did we talk about in the 5 o'clock hour, Joan? Maybe it was Sam. Thousands of people are reported to have been killed. And I think we all know that. The YouTube videos and on TikTok and so forth, the body bags are piling up. So we don't know. It could be anywhere from 3,500 to way over that. We don't really know the real number of how many people have been killed in Iran. But now President Trump is saying, this was yesterday, that not only was Soltani's execution stopped, but that all of the killing in Iran has now stopped. At least that's what the Iranians are saying.
We've been told that the killing in Iran is stopping. It's stopped. It's stopping. And there's no plan for executions or an execution or executions. So I've been told that on good authority. We'll find out about it.
So we'll have to wait and see what we ultimately find out. The president, and I've got a little bit more on this, the president is now sending warships into the region. And so clearly that has Iran's attention. However, there's some really intriguing news about the Iranians, the mullahs and all these folks that are in charge, and what they're doing with their money. That is really fascinating. Going to talk about that straight ahead. 7:16, time to check the roads on WTN. Very good. As far as your weather goes, I'm just going to tell you, friends, it is cold outside, and right now we've got cold temperatures, and it's going to warm to a balmy 33 degrees today. So appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. Going to be partly cloudy as well, and some wind. All right. So President Trump was asked, talking about Iran, President Trump was asked yesterday if military action, because it looks like, according to the Iranians, supposedly things are de-escalating. This is what the president said about military action.
A few days, and they said people were shooting at them with guns and they were shooting back, and it's one of those things. But they told me that there'll be no executions, and so I hope that's true.
Does this mean military action is now off the table against Iran?
No, we're going to watch it and see what the process is. But we were given a very good statement by people that are aware of what's going on.
Is Israel still considering military actions?
When they say no executions, everyone is talking about a lot of executions were taking place today. We were just told no executions. I hope that's true. That's a big thing. Yes, President.
All right, so President Trump, I don't know if things are de-escalating or not. Let's be honest about the situation. The Iranians, not exactly known for telling the truth. I mean, they're honestly just like Vladimir Putin. They tend to lie a lot. So I think the Iranians, though, if things really are de-escalating, I think they saw that President Trump reducing staff at one of our bases there, our base in Qatar. This was a base that the Iranians, had targeted last year. And they're also going to feel the pinch with that 25% tariff that Donald Trump was putting on nations doing business with Iran. We talked about those nations yesterday, of course. China's a big one. Russia is a big one, of course. India was on the list as well. The Iranian government, as you just heard President Trump say, the Iranian government now says that they are once again in control of the situation. Now, remember what we've all been talking about, pre-Iran, pre-1979 Iran, it was a cosmopolitan city. It was a city where, the women had freedoms. The women could go to school, and they were able to do everything pre-1979 that they're not allowed to do now. The Islamic Republic takes over in 79. Suddenly, personal freedoms are gone. So is their economy, by the way. So is their way of life. And so now Iranians here in America, they're watching with huge anticipation of something big happening in Iran. We've got millions of people that have taken to the streets. A lot of people, as we've been reporting, a lot of people are dead. Donald Trump supporting the Iranian people. But videos like this are surfacing, and this was a woman on TikTok. She is Iranian, and she's talking about her hope for the future of Iran.
We are in the middle of the Iranian Revolution. After 47 years of Islamic oppression by those terrorist ayatollahs, Iranians are rising up. Iranians are fighting back. It's full-on civil war in occupied Iran right now. This is the moment that we Iranians have been preparing for the last 47 years since the Islamic Republic occupied our country back in 1979. Iranians are fighting back against Islam. They're fighting back against the Islamic Republic. They're fighting back against Sharia law. It's literally Iran versus Islam. What's happening right now in occupied Iran, I'm telling you, this is going to be bigger than the fall of the Berlin Wall.
I mean, let me tell you something. This could, if ultimately Iran ends up a freer Iran, the entire region, the entire Middle East would change. Now, the other thing about Iran, they are exporters of terror. We all know that. Remember when Israel, and I want you to remember this, remember when Israel was attacked by Hamas and 1,200 plus people were slaughtered? That was paid for by Iran. The Hamas terrorists were trained by Iran's military. So just don't forget that. Stephen Bucci, in our interview yesterday, agrees with this Iranian woman. This really could be huge for the region.
This could be the beginning of the end for them. This is like the Russians putting down things in the old Soviet Union. It's scary, but it's heartening because, again, as I stated, it shows their weakness, not their strength. And it shows that this could be a turning point in history, Dan, when we see this regime that's been repressing this country since 1979 being a thorn in the side of everyone in the region, the biggest exporter of terrorism around the world. And this could be the beginning of the end for them, which, boy, would that be a blessing for the Iranian people and for the region.
Yeah, so now the president, as I mentioned, has sent I'm going to air quote this, a carrier strike group to the Middle East. The group has to go from the South China Sea to what is known as the U.S. Central Command Area of Responsibility, which would be, yes, the Middle East. Now, this is from Reuters. Iranian state TV on Wednesday appeared to warn Donald Trump against interfering with the country, saying this time the bullet won't miss. as it showed a picture of then presidential candidate Donald Trump emerging from an assassination attempt at a Butler, Pennsylvania campaign rally in July of 2024. Now, coming up, I'm going to play some really interesting and intriguing audio from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent as he is giving indications that the Iranian leaders may be getting ready to flee. Details straight ahead. 7:23, Joan Jones has the news at 7:30. Joan, what do we got coming up?
Yeah, today may be the day that President Trump gets his Nobel Peace Prize. I'll explain how that happens. Also, why the FBI raided the home of a Washington Post reporter. Those stories at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$7:24, Dan Mandis here for my friends at DT McCall's, a great Tennessee company. They are here for their fellow Tennesseans like me, like you. Great prices, terrific selection and value as well. I've got, I think, 3 appliances from DT McCall's in my home. I was a customer before I was an endorser. They've been helping people out here in Middle Tennessee for generations. And if you need it for your home, they've got it at great prices. Indoor furniture, if you've got a room to fill, go to DT McCall's. And yeah, if you need an appliance, if it plugs in, they've got it. And again, they've always got great specials going on to save you money at DT McCall's. My policy in my house, basically, if something breaks, I go to their website, dtmccalls.com, and I check out all of those specials and great prices on all the best brands of appliances like washer and dryer sets, dishwashers, and a whole lot more. Yeah, they've been at it over 100 years with a focus on customer service. DT McCall's, 5 locations all across Middle Tennessee, Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, Lafayette, and Franklin, always online, dtmccalls.com.
As Treasury.
Good morning. It is 7:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Cold this morning. We're sitting at 27 degrees, cloudy right now, but it'll be sunny and around 35 later. Stick around for the forecast coming up right after the news. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Machado is in the U.S. today. She'll meet with President Trump.
On Capitol Hill last night, the focus was back on Venezuela. Vice President Vance casting a tie-breaking vote to reject a measure that would have limited President Trump's power to conduct further military action in that country. Trump meets today with Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Machado.
ABC's Nicole D'Antonio. Machado said last week that she had hoped to thank Trump personally for the action against Maduro and would like to give him her Nobel Peace Prize. The FBI has raided the home of a Washington Post reporter. Hannah Natanson is her name. She says the agents confiscated all of her electronic devices as part of a leak investigation into a Pentagon employee. ABC's Stephen Portnoy reports that employee apparently leaked some information that appeared in a story that she published.
Hannah Natanson described how she received information that employees were not supposed to share, with one staffer from the Justice Department telling her, quote, "I never thought I'd be leaking info like this, but I've always felt a sense of duty to do what's right for the country and the citizens." And she quoted a Defense Department worker who said, "I understand the risks, but getting the truth and facts out is so much more important."
Now, the story that appeared in the Washington Post was about how Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro was reaching out to Russia, China, and Iran to boost his country's military capabilities. Local news, Murfreesboro police investigating the crash of a vehicle into a building at Westbury Farms on New Salem Highway last night. No injuries reported, but it's also not clear if anybody's been arrested. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 732, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. WTN. I want to tell you about my friends at Mark Spain Real Estate. Now, listen. You can start your year off stress-free and sell your home with Mark Spain Real Estate's guaranteed offer. You're going to save time, make the most money, and eliminate all the hassle. Yeah, you won't have to worry about the hassle of constant cleanings and making costly repairs. You could just sell that home hassle-free with Mark Spain Real Estate's guaranteed offer. You can receive the strongest all-cash offer in the industry and move when you're ready. There's no showings, no open houses, and no stress. Selling your home, of course, is one of the biggest financial decisions you are ever going to make. So who you work with matters. They've got over 14,000 five-star reviews, and you can trust the most experienced real estate team in America to sell your home quickly and for top dollar. Find out what your guaranteed offer would be. There's no obligation. Call them 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing.
It is a crash on Briley Parkway, the eastbound side in Madison. This is just before Ellington Parkway. The left shoulder is blocked off by it, but all the lanes are open right now. Briley Parkway westbound, this is in Whites Creek. A crash is taking out the right shoulder. Got a crash as well on Nolensville Pike in Nashville. It's on Nolensville Pike at Holt Road. And then one more in Midtown at Church Street and 17th Avenue North. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$7:35, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matthew Hurt is joining us, our grassroots political analyst. Matthew, I did tease this, so I want to pay off on the tease. Scott Bessent was on, I think this is Newsmax, and he's talking about Iran and the possible switch in governments and so forth. We'll have to see what happens. But he says there are indications that the Iranian leaders are making arrangements to live elsewhere. Listen to what the Treasury Secretary has to say.
Going to see to that. And Rob, the other thing as Treasury who carries out the sanctions, we can see is we are now seeing the rats fleeing the ship, because we can see millions, tens of millions of dollars being wired out of the country, snuck out of the country by the Iranian leadership. So they are abandoning ship, and we are seeing it come into banks and financial institutions all over the world. And what we do at Treasury is we follow the money, whether it is through the typical banking system or through digital assets. We are going to trace these assets, and they will not be able to keep them.
So you know how much that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is worth? $200 billion. The Iranian military leaders, they're also worth billions of dollars. And these are the guys that are in charge of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. So if that is true.
And in the meantime, the people are starving. I mean, honestly.
You're right, Joan. In the meantime, people are starving. So Matthew Hurt does join us on WTN. Matthew, I don't know. Supposedly things are de-escalating in Iran. I don't know if I buy it. That's what they're telling President Trump. They did not execute that man that they said that they were going to execute. Meantime, you've got bodies in the streets. So I don't know. What do you think?
Well, this is the most serious anti-government protests in Iran that we have ever seen. And look, I sometimes go on Iranian, the Persian diaspora news stations, which broadcast into Iran. They're still being seen. Those broadcasts are still being seen thanks to support from the American government providing internet access to people in Iran. They are still getting news. And I'll tell you, one of the things that is the most encouraging to me is when I do those hits, people from Iran find me on Instagram and they say, "Thank you for being our voice." There is a yearning to be free from the people of Iran. Now, there is a range of things the American government can do, from providing secure internet access all the way to boots on the ground, which I'm not supportive of. But any range of these things, and with what Scott Bessent said on Newsmax earlier this week, that's a serious indicator of people from within the regime moving their money out. It seems like the Treasury Secretary is going to ensure those funds are frozen. But the second step in moving, after you move the money out, is you move the people out. You go find places where they can hide out. I suspect a place like Afghanistan or another neutral, air quotes, nation in the Middle East. But this is big news for the people of Iran and the Persian diaspora, millions and millions of Iranians who have fled since 1979, who do see Iran as their homeland and who would return if given the opportunity for a free Iran.
Well, one of the things, Matthew, that we've been talking about, and I spoke to Stephen Bucci from the Heritage Foundation, others as well, the stark difference, Iran pre-1979 and post-1979 when the Islamic Republic took over. And you're active on social media, and I've seen on social media all of these Iranian women who they've got the hijab on and the face coverings and all that. and they're getting on social media and they're taking it off. They're taking all of that stuff off in a in a middle finger to the Iranian government. And underneath all of that, beautiful young women who just want to go to school and be able to vote and live their lives. And I think that's something that all Americans can relate to.
It is absolutely something Americans can relate to. And if you zoom out just a little bit further, obviously the American government had some involvement in the 1950s in installing the Shah, but the Shah who significantly westernized Iran. Iran was a beacon of Western, not necessarily philosophy, but at least Western values. The women were dressed modestly, but not fully covered. They were going to school. There were open economies. All of these things which promote these Western values and principles that we enjoy here in the United States. And there is a strain in the DNA of the Iranian people that yearn to return to that, and it is very encouraging to see. Now, the news this week was heartbreaking. Something like 12,000 Iranians shot on the streets in these protests, and 12,000 is a horrific number. But that just goes to show the sheer volume of the number of people who are going out and making the case for freedom in Iran, and it is incredibly encouraging that the people of Iran are taking this fight on themselves and going out into the streets.
Do you believe that this is a cause the American people can get behind?
I said just a minute ago, Dan, there's a range of ways the U.S. government can get involved, from providing internet access to people to providing resources to individuals on the ground who can then lead an insurgency. I think the American people are war weary. Many Americans are supportive of what's happening in Venezuela because it doesn't seem that we've committed a lot of troops on the ground. We saw for 20 years Iraq and Afghanistan, and I think Republicans and Democrats are skeptical of something like that. But if the American government and our allies can empower the people of Iran on the ground,
yep.
And allies in the area to make those moves and put enough pressure on the regime to push them out. And again, as you said just a few minutes ago, the conversation with Treasury Secretary Bessent seems to indicate that the first domino is falling. Once these dominoes start to fall, it is almost impossible to pull them back. And so I don't think we should commit troops or boots on the ground in Iran, but I do think there are a number of things that the American government can do to encourage and equip the people on the ground to make the right decision.
In other news, so I'm seeing, Matthew, a lot of positive indicators on the economy. So I know that you've been critical of not necessarily Donald Trump, but you've been critical, of course, of the economy in our conversations in the past. We haven't picked up on that discussion in the last couple of months because I just have been so many other things to talk about. But you and I both know that the midterm elections, even though we have some concerns about the midterm elections, particularly the House of Representatives, it seems to me that we are seeing some positive indicators on the economy. Are you starting to feel better about the economy, given the fact that, we've seen some positive moves on, for example, the trade deficit, inflation is slowing down. It's acknowledged that still there's things that are too expensive, but I'm seeing some positive moves on the economy.
Oh, yeah. And in these conversations, Dan, you and I have talked about when President Trump or when Congress engages in some activity, be it through congressional means or executive action, it takes several months. And now we're mid-January. In each of the conversations I've had with you over the last couple of months, I've said by March, April, May, we're going to see a turnaround. I checked my investment accounts this morning. I've got like a little short-term one. Again, none of this is a conversation about investment advice for your listeners, but we're on the upswing in the personal accounts, and it looks like the cost of obviously gasoline has been going down. We've talked about that a couple of times. The cost at the grocery store, we're seeing some of those prices adjust. And I think that once we get to March and April, we're looking at probably another Fed rate cut in late spring, early summer. All of those factors play into the midterm elections. What I did just see, though, is we've got a new governor coming into Virginia this weekend. It seems like the Democrats, in addition to affordability, one of the ways they're going to run in the midterms, and you and I have talked about this a number of times, is Trump on the ballot or not? The way Abigail Spanberger ran and won the governor's race in Virginia, one of the elements was that she said, Republicans are for Trump and we're for you. And I think we're going to see some of that messaging, even though Donald Trump isn't on the ballot. Democrats are going to try to tie every Republican candidate to Donald Trump, which excites Democrats, and it doesn't excite Republicans as much because Donald Trump isn't on the ballot, and many Republicans believe they already did their duty in 2024 by voting and electing Donald Trump president.
It's going to be interesting. There's a headline out of Michigan, a warning for Democrats coming out of Michigan. I'm going to tell you that coming up next. Also, I want your opinion on Nick Shirley. You and I have spoken about him before. There's a new video that has dropped. Going to talk about that as well. Matthew Hurt is joining us on Super Talk 99.7. Time to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather goes, it looks like it's very cold this morning if you haven't left yet. High of only 33, and it's going to be partly cloudy and a little breezy as well. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Let's talk first about Nick Shirley, Matthew Hurt. I know that your day job is trying to work with young Republicans on messaging and trying to cultivate more of a conservative wave amongst the younger generation. What do you think of Nick Shirley? I mean, the dude is amazing to me.
Yeah, this is so encouraging, and what we see at Leadership Institute, where I work full-time training conservative activists, particularly for those activists on college campuses, which is where they identified me at Middle Tennessee State University 20 years ago, is finding somebody who has as Phil Valentine used to say, the C.O. Jones to go out and make these videos and to come with enough facts. You know, in Nick Shirley's first wave of videos, he brought David with him, and David had done the yeoman's work on research on these daycare centers, the Leering Center and many others. And I think he was armed with enough facts to go and make a strong visual case. You have to show people what is happening. Nobody is going to read lines and lines of an Excel spreadsheet, but they will see these videos, and they went viral. And it has ended the Walz administration. It has ended Governor Walz's time as governor of Minnesota. He is not running. He pulled back earlier this month, and they're going to do a bait and switch subversion of democracy, like the Democrats have done the last couple of elections. And that is a big thing. Now, I haven't seen the latest, so I'm interested in whatever clip you're going to run. But I think the work that Nick Shirley and people like him do, I've seen Ohio and North Carolina, there have been some other people like him. This is very important work in highlighting and exposing what many people are not going to read in lines and lines of Excel spreadsheets.
One of the things, and I'll tell you what he has dropped, and it's amazing. Number one is and this is something that I've talked about before, so it's nothing really new for people that listen to this show, but it's about these non-emergency medical transportation companies where the gig is, non-medical emergency. You're transporting people to doctors' offices and so forth. You got all these different companies that Nick Shirley and David Hoke have figured out. You have all these companies that are claiming to be these non-emergency medical transportation companies. Well, they don't exist. They don't have vans. They don't have offices. They're literally companies in name only. And you're talking about, again, more billions of dollars in fraud. But what is even more incredible about these videos is that you have now the Somali community in Minnesota threatening Nick Shirley with physical harm. And so
I'm not surprised at all on that end, Dan. And I saw a tease out of this last week or the week before of these, white Toyota Sienna or some other minivan type vehicle driving around with a driver and nobody in them. This is something. If billions of dollars of free money is threatened, If you're getting it one day and then all of a sudden there's exposure and you're not getting it down the line, that causes people to be very frustrated. And I'm not surprised by the threats. This is something that as whistleblowers in any level of government, Nick Shirley on the outside or somebody on the inside talking about waste, fraud, and abuse, like the Minnesota Health Agency a few weeks ago on Twitter, and X came out and said, we told Governor Walz all this was happening. You have to understand, as James O'Keefe said, what is your price? You have to be willing to pay for this with your life, because they will come for you, and it is very dangerous work. And I have to applaud somebody, a young guy like Nick Shirley, for going out there and doing this.
So this is the story out of Michigan. Just real quick, Democrats get warning signs in new Michigan poll. A new poll of Michigan voters delivered warning signs to Democrats about key races in the 2026 midterm elections. They say that it was published in the Detroit News, show Republican candidates leading both of the major statewide races, while many Michigan voters are still unsure of who they will support. So, you know, the bottom line is that Michigan, obviously a battleground state, and the voters there, at least according to this poll in the Detroit News, they're still supporting Republicans.
And you and I have talked about this over the last several weeks. In Maine, in Michigan, in Texas, Democrats have two choices. Are they going to nominate what they would call a mainstream Democrat who might appeal to moderates and independents, or are they going to nominate a leftist like Mondami or many of the Democrats who were elected in the House of Delegates in Virginia last year? And this is the game. By August, we'll know. You know, Tennessee has an August primary. It's late primary state, but many of these states are going to nominate people in May, in June. And we will know by midsummer if the Democrats have decided to nominate moderate, acceptable Democrats in their eyes or radical leftists. And if they do that in states like Michigan, where the numbers are close, it will bode well for Republicans heading into November.
Real quick, Donald Trump this morning talking about implementing the Insurrection Act in Minnesota. I think, and I just saw a poll, Harry Enton on CNN, and he's talking about how Donald Trump's polling on immigration and ICE's polling both way down. Do you think that in Minnesota, I mean, you and I have talked about this. I mean, you've got ICE agents who are defending themselves. But do you think outside of, I'm going to say me, outside of my conservative bubble, are the American people seeing something different than what I'm seeing, which is ICE agents defending themselves against sort of like this running around like zombies, hysterical mob in Minnesota?
You know, I think it depends on where in the conversation people check in and check out. We tend to latch on to news, particularly news when it sort of suits our narrative, and then check out if faced with anything else. I do think the shooting of Miss Good last week or the week before, the videos came out in such a successive fashion. We saw a video that sort of seemed to defend her position, and then it wasn't 12 hours later that we saw the rest of the video, and I think reasonable people made reasonable judgments on that. And then we have the situation yesterday. What we're seeing, though, is somebody like Governor Walz last night coming out and saying, basically, go to war with federal agents. And I think that is going to that is part and parcel of the radicalization of leftist activists, where most reasonable people stay home. Most reasonable people stay home. They catch it on the news. They maybe have an opinion about it when they share it at work or with their friends. They're not out there in the streets. Most reasonable people are not in the streets antagonizing federal agents. And so all we see are a minuscule minority of leftist activists out there in the streets. I think most reasonable people say, let the federal government do its job. And it is unfortunate when somebody is killed in a situation like this, but it is a natural outcome of constantly antagonizing federal agents.
Yeah, and we saw in that, I think it was the second video, how antagonizing Renee Good and her wife, Rebecca, was towards ICE agents. And with that, Matthew Hurt, always appreciate you coming on. How can people follow you on X?
I'm on X at Matthew Hurt, MatthewHurtt.
All righty. We'll talk to you next time at 7:54. Joan's got the news at 8. Joan.
Yeah, coming up here at 8 o'clock this morning, we've got the U.S. pulling troops out of some major military bases as things keep spiraling there east in the Middle East because of Iran's threats. We've got that story coming up here at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis. You know, if you have lost a lot of weight and the skin didn't go along with it and you've got a bunch of that loose skin and you want to look better, my friends at Contours, they can help you. Now, check this out. They can get you looking good in no time. Contours can help you tighten up that loose skin and firm up your face as well. That's right. Now, they are experts in body contouring featuring FDA-cleared red light technology. People across Middle Tennessee are using Contours for their belly and their face. That's right. Now, right now, a great deal going on. You call them up, you mention my name, you get a belly buster treatment or a facial for just $99. Or another great deal, you can get both for just $149. That's right. Now, if you think that you're ready for a full transformation, ask about the Mandis Makeover, Contour's premier sculpting and maintenance program. Now, you can get a free set of facials with the purchase of a belly buster package. That's right. So you work on those fine lines on your face and the loose skin around your belly. You've got goals. We can help with Contours. Call them. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-236-9960. 615-236-9960. Find them online anytime. ContoursLLC.com. Contours, what do you have to lose but inches?
Good morning. It is now 8 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The U.S. is pulling troops out of a major military base in the Middle East, just as Iran is shutting down its airspace. This is President Trump is stepping back his threats against Tehran. ABC News chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell is reporting from that area this morning.
More than 2,600 people, most unarmed civilians, have been ruthlessly killed. Now, President Trump saying the killing and the execution of protesters has stopped.
We have been informed by very important sources on the other side, and they've said the killing has stopped and the executions won't take place.
One young man set for execution, 26-year-old Irfan Sultani. His cousin, Samaya, telling ABC News these execution verdicts are issued overnight with no warning.
Iran has reopened its airspace after a 5-hour closure last night. It comes amid concerns about possible military action between the U.S. and Iran. Yesterday's White House meeting between the U.S., Denmark, and Greenland could be described as being icy. ABC's Mary Bruce says there was no agreement on the U.S. taking over Greenland or having it become a territory.
President Trump has been very clear. He argues that the U.S. needs Greenland for national security, and he has not ruled out using military force to get it. And of course, Denmark is our NATO ally. They've stressed that they are happy to work with the U.S. to bolster security in the region. But as Trump ramps up these threats, the Danish are now sending their own message. They're increasing their military presence in Greenland and asking other NATO allies to help.
In fact, some NATO members are deploying small numbers of troops to Greenland for a joint military exercise. Now, French President Emmanuel Macron calling it Operation Arctic Endurance. Along with France is Germany, Sweden, and Norway taking part in that operation. Verizon says it'll credit customer accounts for that huge outage yesterday, but you're going to have to ask them for it. It's been resolved, but some customers are still having trouble. Channel 4's Marius Payton.
Verizon suggests you restart your device to reconnect to the network. The outage prevented people from sending texts and making calls, including to emergency officials.
Yeah, the old turn it off, turn it on, and again, and it'll work thing. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Stock futures this morning, now they're mixed. The Dow futures are down 39, but the NASDAQ futures gaining 268. The S&P futures are up 32 points. That's the latest news. We've got your traffic and weather ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 8:03, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I want to tell you about my friends at Loan Pronto. Listen, the best financial move you can make this time of year, lowering those mortgage rates to 4.99% fixed APR. Now, that is the lowest rate in years, and Loan Pronto, they can help you. How about getting up to $500,000 out of your home's equity in the process? Yes, you can do it now by calling my friends at Loan Pronto. With their rapid equity loan, you can get a ton of cash, pay off all of those high-interest credit cards, and skip up to 2 house payments as well. Now, one homeowner going through Loan Pronto just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours, wiped out their credit cards and a couple of car loans, and saved $2,100 every single month. So don't wait. There's no hard credit pull up front, and you probably won't even need an appraisal. Just fast, easy cash from your home's equity. Act right now. Call them at 615-499-5780, 615-499-5780. Find them online anytime at loanpronto.com and see how much cash you can get today. Loanpronto.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781. APR for well-qualified buyers. Visit nmlsconsumeraccess.org.
You've got an accident this morning in Ashland City Highway. This is in Bordeaux. It's at Drake's Branch Road. That one involves some injuries. Also, a couple on Nolensville Pike, one in Nashville south of Holt Road, and the other is at Nolensville Pike and McCall Street. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.806 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Text line is open, very active today. 615-737-9986. 615-737-WWTN. All right, so Joan.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever noticed, but when you have a daycare kind of a situation, you know?
Yeah.
What kind of people typically work in daycares? Usually they're women.
Women, yeah. Young women.
Oh, did I do something wrong? You know what? It's okay. Don't worry about it. I knocked my TV thing off of the thing.
Did you
so.
shank something?
I did. I don't know how I did it, but whatever. All right, so we've got audio, which is fine. So Nick Shirley's new video.
Yeah.
Where he shows up at one of these Somali daycare places.
Yeah.
And you don't have some, demure women who you would think would be, watching a bunch of precious little children. Oh, no. No. You have a bunch of men.
Yes, get out. Okay, listen.
Storming out of the building.
What are you looking for?
We don't care what you do on the parking lot.
Go this side.
You got four men have stormed out of this room, and they're yelling at Nick Shirley.
About the daycare. It's all right. Can we ask you about the daycare?
These guys don't seem to me like they would be daycare workers. And he's asking. He's got a piece of paper, and he's asking, can you tell me what you got? $16 million here that you're getting from the government. What are you doing?
We're asking. We just want to get out. We just want to ask you about $2.25 million.
Get out. You say get out.
Yeah.
Get out, guys. Get out.
You cannot do that.
And it just all these men just start storming out. I don't know. It's kind of
not the kind of place I think I would leave my kids.
No. Well, and part of this obviously is. There's another. There's like 5 now.
What's the need for 2.2?
So I've never in my life seen 5 men at a daycare. I never have. So and these are all very volatile people too. So that is one video, and that goes on for. It's a 51-minute video that he dropped, and part of what he has found, and they said this video is going to be even crazier than the other video, and you know why that is. The reason is because people now recognize Nick Shirley. And so part of the shock value of his new video is not only the rampant fraud, which Joan and I have been talking about, off and on throughout the radio broadcast this morning. The new video shows these, and we just talked about it with Matthew Hurt, actually, where you've got these non-emergency medical transportation companies that they only exist on paper. There's no vans, and if they do have vans, guess what, Joan? They're buried in snow. In other words, they're not taking anybody anywhere.
So I saw part of that video, and David is with Nick Shirley.
Yeah.
And he says, I've been keeping track, and I have photos that I took every single day of these vans, and they haven't moved in 8 months.
Right.
Honestly.
Yet they're getting millions and millions of dollars.
And they're time-stamped pictures. So you can't, you can't get around this, people. It's the craziest thing.
Joan.
Not even just the timestamp. Now stuff is the metadata.
Yeah.
Will show you the location,
yes.
all the pinpoints of where it was on the map.
Yeah. And nobody, but see, nobody in that community wants to answer for any of this. You know what it is, Joan? It's because they're Muslim.
This has nothing to do with race. This is fraud. It's fraud.
This absolutely has to do with us being Muslim.
No.
That's what it is.
All right, and us being from Africa.
That's what it is.
Constitutional argument. If you don't want us here, change the freedom of religion. Say, listen, we don't want Muslims in this country anymore.
You see what he's doing?
No.
You don't want Muslims in this country anymore.
Not fraud. You're
When I go onto your comments,
We could actually talk about that, but whatever.
people that say we do not want Muslims here, kick every single Muslim in Minnesota out of Minnesota.
That's a comment.
You're preparing for the Somali community to maybe be taken to concentration camps.
Stop it. Whatever. What an idiot.
But
you know what they're learning from Democrats, of course. And what's the reason why, with all of these, hundreds of millions of dollars in fraud, what's the reason why it wasn't investigated or prosecuted to the fullest extent? And why is it that Tim Walz and the Attorney General Keith Ellison allowed this to continue? Well, for political reasons, obviously, as we've all been talking about, but also because they use the threat of being called a racist against people that are asking the questions, like Nick Shirley, just like that dude right there. You're doing this because we're Muslim. No, dude, we're doing this because that community is showing proof, evidence, actual evidence of massive, rampant fraud. And it's one story after another.
And you're taking our money to do it. It's our taxpayer money. You come to this country and take our money.
Yeah, but they no shame.
None at all.
There is, old man brain. Entitled. They have this entitled mentality about them that are indicated in this video, and here's part of what I would say, because you got everybody, not all Somalis. Okay, whatever. This dude is, and I don't know if this particular person depicted in this video, I don't know if he is part of the rampant fraud, but he's defending it. So I think that is a legit question to ask. Okay, so if you are not directly involved in the fraud, okay, fine, good on you. But here's some more questions for you. Do you denounce the fraud? Does the fraud concern you? That's number one. Number two, if you're part of this community, are you on the government dole? Did you come here to America to effectively live off the generosity of the American people? Because as I was talking about with Jonathan Fahey and Matthew Hurt, 80% of this community is on some sort of government benefit. So it's not just about the fraud. It's about everything. It's about them getting all of these benefits legally. And we should expect more from these people that come into our country. And they wanted, used to be, they wanted to take part in the American dream. The American dream apparently has changed from wanting to go out, earn a living, learn the language, become an American, own a home, and all that kind of stuff. The American dream has now changed into how much money can I rip off from the American people? That's what the new American dream is to these Somalians. Hey, Sam, that's a promo cut right there. Can you just clip that? That was a promo cut.
All right.
Where the program director, Joan, is bugging us for promo cuts. And it's like, we say so much every day.
I know, right?
And
then usually they get like goofy things that you said to me.
Something like completely out of context and make no sense.
Yeah.
No offense to anybody who's might be listening.
Jesse
Joan.
Waters had some highlights from it, and David, one of the investigators into this stuff, have you heard from him about how many of these businesses exist just for the cars?
No, I've got another one. So go ahead. You want to play it?
My research has shown that there are about 1,020 such companies in Minnesota, and more than 90% of them are Somali-owned. A lot of these companies, their address is an apartment, some are in a house, some are in a convenience store, some of them in a vacant building. There's no signage, there's nobody there.
Shirley and his deputies say these transportation companies are ripe for the picking.
Yep. He's right. It's the numbers are mind-boggling. And here's the other thing to think about. This is only Minnesota. So how many other cities or states are, rampantly fraudulent? Speaking of David Hoke, is it Hoke, Sam? Is it Hoke? I think it's Hoke. Nobody says his last name. I think one of the
Yeah, I
reasons.
know. Isn't it funny? We all just say David, and we all know who it is.
Yeah, we do. But so David, the guy who's been doing, as Matthew Hurt said, yeoman's work in documenting all of this. There's so many different ways that these companies are fraudulent. So here's another one. I was talking about this earlier. I sort of teased this, but this is David, and it is another fraud scheme where in Minneapolis, you have all of these Somali people who suddenly, when they go to the doctor, they suddenly don't remember how to speak English and they need an interpreter, courtesy of the American government. Listen to this.
When a Somali goes to the doctor, magically, they forgot how to speak English, so they need an interpreter there. So the county brings in an interpreter at $100 an hour, minimum 8 hours, to interpret what the doctor is telling the patient.
For one doctor visit, $100 an hour, 8 hours minimum for one doctor's visit. Now, listen, I know that times can be, long in the doctor's office, but are you kidding me? Nobody questions that at all in Minnesota? 8 hours as a minimum. I mean, I don't even know. You don't get lawyers or plumbers. Nobody gets an 8-hour minimum. This is insanity. And again, the whole point is nobody's questioning this. David has, but nobody wanted to listen to him.
So that's another layer of fraud that nobody's even talked about or revealed.
And it's millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars all on its own. Interpreter services.
Yeah, because what percentage do you think of these people, especially if they were born here in the United States, they speak English, right?
Of course they do.
They should not be saying no English.
And then remember, the interpreter has to get to the doctor's office or the hospital. How are they getting there? The transportation company, and then they got to get back home. And that patient had to get to the doctor's office. How? Transportation. Kids got to get to school. How? Transportation. That's why I said the transportation is the hub of, really, I think, all of this.
So basically what we're talking about between all these fraudulent businesses, the daycare, the autism centers, the adult daycare, the home services, and then the transportation, and then on top of that you have it looped in with them going eventually to the doctors for translators to be paid by the state.
That's exactly what's happening, yes.
Unbelievable. All that money, what could our veterans do with that money? What could we as a nation do with that money? And again, we're only talking about one city. So I hope that our country, the Democrats, I believe the more that this information gets out, I think the more the American people, I hope, demand better. Demand better of our immigrants. Demand better of the migrant community that wants to come into our country. It is 8:18, and we haven't checked the roads yet, so let's check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather goes, it's going to be a high of 33 today. Cold start to the morning, and we're going to have partly cloudy skies, breezy, and very, very cold. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, I haven't even gotten to the Tim Walz primetime presser from yesterday, so going to take a break. If you want to chime in, Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986. Going to take a break, and we're going to play some Tim Walz audio coming up. By the way, for the very latest, Donald Trump is now saying that he is threatening to call for the Insurrection Act in Minnesota if things don't get better. We've been talking all morning long about a second ICE-related shooting in Minnesota. The ICE agent was ambushed, and so he had to use his gun to protect himself. And I do believe that Donald Trump, in my opinion, should call for the Insurrection Act, because we clearly know that Jacob Fry, I played you the audio before, his commentary is instigating clearly, and once you hear the audio from Tim Walz, you will see that he is doing the exact same thing. 8:20 on Super Talk 99.7. Joan's got the news coming up at 8:30. Joan.
Yeah, President Trump issues that threat as the violence escalates in Minnesota. Also, the Tennessee legislature, is going after drag shows. We'll tell you how coming up here at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. This is my HVAC company, and they have been for years. Now, they saved me time, all kinds of money, and comfort in 2025, and that continues in 2026. They can help you as well. Every single month, they give you a whole bunch of different ways to save money. Now, if you need a new HVAC unit, but you've been putting it off, well, now is the time to call Busy Bee, because right now you can get 0% financing for 18 months plus a complimentary UV light with any new unit install and a free 5-year labor upgrade. That is a $750 value. If you want to improve the indoor air quality of your home, you can take 15% off UV lights when you book a premium duct cleaning. And here's a really great deal. Buy one Beehive membership, you can get one Beehive membership free for a friend. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. This is my company for all things comfort. Call them and tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 615-775-7833. 615-775-7833. Find them online anytime. BusyBeeHVAC.com. Busy Bee, your comfort, our mission. Dan Mandis, and if you've got a dog that has some behavior problems, I've got the company that can help you. I've been there, I've done that, and I wish that when I was going through these problems, I had Ridgeside Canine Nashville around to help me, but they can help you. Now, I call these folks at Ridgeside Canine Nashville the Dog Whisperers. Now, they have helped thousands of dogs and their owners over the last 25 years solve behavioral issues, and they can help you. Again, if you've got a dog with some behavioral problems, aggression, potty problems, anxiety, maybe it's just basic obedience, they can help you help your precious pup with just about anything. But what I really love about Ridgeside Canine Nashville and what they do is they believe that owner education is just as important as dog training, and long-term success with your dog begins with you. And Ridgeside Canine Nashville, they've got a lifetime support guarantee, and they are there for you 24/7. So make 2026 the year that your dog finally listens. Call Jeff at 615-878-0380, 615-878-0380, or find them online, rsk9nash.com. The letter K, the number 9, rsk9nash.com. Ridgeside Canine Nashville, veteran-owned, proven results, guaranteed for life. Also find them on Facebook, Ridgeside Canine Nashville. 827 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan, a little bit of awkwardness in the studio.
Because?
Chris Hand has broken protocol, and he's walking in at 827. But
well,
he
why
says,
didn't he wait till 8:28?
You're mad at me when I'm late. You're mad at me when I'm early.
Early.
What do you want me to do?
I'm never mad at you, Chris.
He said, Dan looks at me and goes, what are you doing?
What are you doing here, man?
I was just going to get comfy.
This is my space between 5 a.m. and 8:35. Then at 8:35, it's ours. I'm just kidding. Okay. Well, hey, have you heard the Tim Waltz audio?
I'm just going to leave.
No,
I'm just going to see myself out.
Oh, see, now you see what he's doing? You're like a girl sometimes.
I'm really hurt.
Just forget it.
Just forget it.
Real quick. Tim Waltz, did you see his primetime thing yesterday?
I did. Did you see the technical difficulties they had on launch?
Yeah. You know, we'll play the technical difficulties at 8:35. Also, some great audio from Tim Waltz on Bill and Hill not showing up. But this is Tim Waltz last night. Clearly, obviously, Joan, making this all about a person's skin color, right?
Going door to door, ordering people to point out where their neighbors of color live.
Is that what's happening? The ICE is going door to door and demanding to know where their neighbors of color live. I'm reasonably certain that's not happening, Sam.
You're hiding the people of color in the basement, aren't you?
Are they under the floorboards?
That's exactly right. Are they hiding in the closet? Where are they?
Pulling over people indiscriminately, including U.S. citizens, and demanding to see their papers. And at grocery stores, at bus stops, even at our schools.
Did you hear the Somali fraud on the grocery stores? Where they've got like four or five different, this was actually a few days ago. Nick Shirley, 4 or 5 different grocery stores at like one address.
Yeah.
I mean,
we know what they're doing because they caught them in Massachusetts with the Haitians. So they don't even have any groceries.
Yeah.
People are coming in and just trading, $2,000 worth of EBT for $1,000.
How dude can say these things with a straight face?
They're breaking windows, dragging pregnant women down the street, just plain grabbing Minnesotans and shoving them into unmarked vans.
Are they doing that?
Can you believe it? You know what the ICE agents say when they're dragging pregnant women? I've heard them. They shout 2 for 1. 2 for 1. That's what they shout. It's a horrible thing. We have to put an end to it.
Did you see? Do you have this audio?
Yeah, I got it all.
All right, so
I'm very excited. Well, I don't know if we're gonna laugh or if we're gonna get angry. It might be a mix of both.
It could be a mix of both. Have you? So did you see the story? Well, we got to go to break. All right, we have a lot to do at 8:35.
See, this is why I came in early, and we would have had more time had you not opened the break lambasting me for being early.
That wasn't a break. That was a segment. A break is when we do commercials.
Okay.
A segment is when we do content.
Okay.
I still have to tell you these things?
I like to call it a talk break, and the commercials are the stop set.
That's a very FM music thing that you're doing right there. You're throwing down there, Chris.
I'm sorry.
Straight we did.
Sorry.
All right. I'm just kidding. 8:30, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 8:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories overnight. Violent clashes between federal agents and professional agitators in Minneapolis after an ICE agent being attacked by 3 people drew his weapon and shot one of them.
The injured man is in custody. He and the officer were taken to the hospital. The scene quickly descending into chaos. Smoke and flashbangs filling the night sky. Agents deploying chemical irritants as demonstrators sent fireworks in their direction. Officials calling for peace, acknowledging the city is on edge.
That's ABC's Faith Abube. In response, President Trump has posted to his Truth Social account a threat to institute the Insurrection Act. And in his words, quickly put an end to the travesty taking place in the once great state. The president was blaming Mayor Joseph Fry and Governor Tim Walz for failing to act. The Tennessee House passed a bill that keeps drag shows far away from kids. Here's Channel 4's Marius Payton on that bill.
Expands the definition of adult cabaret in the state current law. Classifies adult cabaret as something that features topless dancers, strippers, male or female impersonators, or similar entertainers.
Now, because of the reclassification, drag shows would be banned within 1,000 feet of a school, a rec center, or a place of worship. The bill heads to the Senate floor for discussion. It's sentencing day today for a Clarksville mother accused of killing her disabled son. In October, a jury found Cheyenne Maddox guilty of the starvation death of her own son, Kadaris. The 13-year-old suffered from cerebral palsy and was confined to a wheelchair. Stocks on Wall Street now trading, and things are looking up. We've got the Dow Jones Industrial starting off 161 points higher. The Nasdaq is up 204. S&P 500 index gaining 44 points. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandison. You know, my store for all things two-way is the Glock store. Now, you know that everybody's talking about the new Gen 6. They're out. They're amazing. You know, the new Gen 6s, they've got the new optic system, the RTF6 texturing, and that flat face trigger, among many other things. Really, these are optimized to make you a better shooter, and the Glock store wants to make sure that you can get one. You can pre-order yours right now by going to the Glock store. They already got that first shipment. Boom, sold out. So if you want to pre-order yours, you can by going to the Glock store. Check out your options right there at the rental counter. Now, you can check them out. You can hold it. You can shoot it. You can try it out. These new Gen 6s, they are amazing. When you mention my name, you can get an extra magazine when you pick up your new Gen 6 Glock from the Glock store. So mention my name, you get that extra magazine. Now, this is a limited time offer and only from my friends at the Glock store, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. Find them online, glockstore.com and shoot270.com. Dan Mandis here, 8:33. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. DT McCall's a great company, and I've got at least 3 appliances in my home from DT McCall's, a great Tennessee company. They're here for not only me, but all of their fellow Tennesseans. Great prices, selection, and value. Yeah, I've been telling you for years about DT McCall's. They've been helping people out for 4 generations. And if you need it for your home, they've got it. Great prices, selection, and value. If you've got a room to fill, go to DT McCall's, and if it plugs in, they've got it. And they've always got specials going on to save you money right there on the front page of their website. Something breaks down in my house, first thing I do, go to dtmccalls.com and look for whatever I need. They've got the best brands at the best prices in Middle Tennessee. So if you need a washer and dryer set, a dishwasher, they've got all of those and a whole lot more. I've got a new refrigerator from DT McCall's. I just bought that a couple of weeks ago. Now, if you buy it, they are going to deliver it for free and haul away the old stuff. They have a laser focus on customer service. 5 locations all across Middle Tennessee: Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, Lafayette, and Franklin. Always online, dtmccalls.com.
Okay, so we have a crash on Nolensville Pike in Glencliff this morning. It's at McCall Street. Also, Briley Parkway in Madison, the eastbound lanes. There's a crash in the left lane right at Ellington Parkway, exits 15A and B. Pretty slow still on 24 heading in this morning in the Laverne area especially. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Isn't this the green cold peppers or something like that?
Here we go.
Isn't that who that is?
It's the spring onions.
The spring onions.
Yeah.
Give it away, give it away, give it away now. See, I know this.
Let's go.
I did the hand thing too.
The best part is on the YouTube stream, we can't play the music because of the the copywriting. So they got that without the addition of the music.
Tim Waltz, jazz hands.
Give it away.
Ah.
Whatever. I thought it did it pretty good, actually. By the way, that's the only thing that I know about that song is that part. Give it away to people on YouTube. I'm sorry, YouTubers. We love you. All right.
What?
Glencliff, Nolensville Pike.
Was I that bad that the woman from Pennsylvania had to butt in?
Just tried to intervene.
Good Lord, man. She's like,
I can save this break.
It's like, oh God, the old white guy is trying to rap. I got to jump in from
I was
Pennsylvania.
trying to get it to stop because the audio and the visual was unsettling.
Quick, bring up 24.
All right, real quick, Tim Burchett commenting on Bill and Hill not showing up for their congressional appointment to talk about Epstein.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett just left they subpoenaed Bill and Hillary Clinton on the Epstein situation. Of course, they no-showed. My buddy Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro didn't show up, and they got sent to prison.
Mm-hmm.
That's a double standard. And I'll tell you, the bigger double standard is when I mentioned that in the press conference. I wish we'd had it on film, but the press just put their cameras down immediately.
Weird.
When I said that. I looked across the front row, 3 or 4 of them, right like that. It's these cards are very much stacked against us and justice. And the Clintons, of course, they thumb their nose at justice because they're allowed to. They've been allowed to since they were in Arkansas, and they're going to continue to do it. And it's really a shame that that's the pinnacle of success for the Democrat Party, really, is that bunch. But that's what we're dealing with. And, of course, they had a paid agitator out there yelling at us during this thing and during the press conference, and just pathetic, really. But that's where the left is right now. Thank y'all for sending me here.
The island of pathetic toys.
That's your mainstream media. I wish you would have said who the media outlets were that, decided to put away their cameras.
It was all of them, Dan.
I love how he records his posts. It's like your average dad type of situation.
Yeah.
There's a vibe to it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
thanks
for sending me here. I love the clothes.
It sucks here, but thanks for sending me here.
Anyway, thanks for sending me here.
I'd rather be building a skateboard. Dadgummit.
Is he selling those skateboards yet?
No, he's not allowed to sell them.
I would unironically buy a Burchett board.
I would. So he's gonna. I don't know if you heard, but I'm always thinking of Nashville's rescue mission. So I actually asked him for a Burchett board so that we could auction one off during the Nashville rescue mission. If only I was going to be here to participate in it.
Why won't we be here?
We got a meeting with the boss. I'm probably going to get fired today.
That's not true.
What?
Gosh,
every time I walk into that man's office, I think my minutes are numbered.
Well, I just want to let the audience know if Dan gets fired, I'll be here tomorrow morning at 5. I won't let you down.
I think Chris has been secretly plotting to get me fired since he got here.
I think I actually just saw the boss go by the doorway. He had a box of things that belong to you.
That's weird.
Has that ever happened to you, actually?
Yes.
I know it's happened to you, Joan. Chris, has it ever happened to you? Where you get the box?
No.
I got fired. I got laid off.
No, it's never
what did it do?
happened to
No, it was Joan.
Well,
so,
that's the old saying is you're nobody until you get fired in radio. So I'm still a nobody.
Well, so what happened to me, and I know Joan can relate, is I decided to come here, so I did not sign my contract offer at my last job. So I literally walked in, and they had a box. And they said, here's the box, and start putting stuff in.
Wow.
And I had a stupid big old plant. I just left it there. You can keep the damn plant. They probably let the plant die. They were so mad that I left. Anyway, so there you go. And Joan, you have a here's your box story real quick?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I didn't get to take the box. They said they would ship it home for me.
Oh, wow. What
Must
did you
have been
do?
really threatening.
They had a couple security guards when they walked Joan out, so no tires got slashed.
It was actually the GM was behind me, and I told him to get away from me.
You did?
I did.
Damn straight I did.
Yes.
Damn straight we did.
Real quick, I had to fire a guy one time. No, nobody here. Years ago, I had to fire somebody. We had to bring in armed security because we had no idea what the guy was going to do.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's wild.
So I said to my GM, because I was the guy that had to do the firing. It's like, okay, so where's the armed security? He's right over there. He's pretending to be a client. So that's what we had to do.
Perfect.
Oh.
Luckily, the guy didn't do anything. He told me to plank off and he left.
That's nice.
I didn't care.
That's a much better outcome than needing the armed security to step in.
Hey, do you think Tim Waltz fired the guy that was handling his audio yesterday? Did you hear what happened?
What do you think that was? Do you think it was a whole pre-record? Is that what really happened?
Well, let's hear it.
The federal government is raining down upon our communities. What's happening in Minnesota? 2,000 to 3,000 armed agents of the federal government have been deployed to Minnesota.
Okay, so there's some sort of a loop going on.
Yep.
So this had to be pre-recorded, even though they said it was live, or there's some sort of a delay. Because you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that could have been. Did you think you were going crazy the first time you heard it? Because a lot of people started posting the clips and they didn't even reference the audio failure in it.
Right.
And I'm listening to it. I'm like, what is going on this? I'm like,
so
is this? I felt like, have you seen the viral videos after Kathy Hochul said black people don't know how to use laptops? That's how I felt looking at my laptop. I'm like, what is this? What am I doing?
So here's a funny story. This was the first video clip that I looked at this morning. And I'm looking at my board at home, and I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Okay, so it wasn't just me.
It wasn't just you. No, it wasn't just you. All right, real quick, set up the next clip while I grab it.
Okay, so I came across this viral clip. It's an interview clip where Hein Gomans, who is a professor at Duke, recounts a student that we're all familiar with. His name is Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller was there in 2003. And he says Stephen knew exactly what he wanted to do in 2003 and predicted where we would be today, and it was eerily accurate.
All right, listen. It's on Instagram, isn't it?
No, it's on X. I got it.
Stephen Miller.
Here we go.
My former student.
What's that?
My former student.
I'm sorry, say again?
My former student.
The Stephen Miller in the Trump administration?
Yeah.
Did you want to say a little bit more about that before we listen to this clip?
He said that I asked him in 2003 what he wanted to be when he grew up. And he said, I want to be number 2 in the White House. And I said, oh, when do you want to achieve that? He says, in the next 15 years. I said, wow. Okay, well, who would be the president in 2003? And he said, Donald Trump, maybe.
What?
The guy is very smart.
Where was this?
And Duke is in Poli-Sci 122.
You had him at Duke?
Yeah. It's a true story.
You could have told, I do a lot of homework here, Hein. You could have told me this before the program. Yeah. Wow, okay. There's no question he's a very smart guy.
And he has a long-term vision.
Was he a good student, by the way?
He was very good.
Very good student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in 2003, Stephen Miller was saying, I'm going to be number 2 in the White House, and Donald Trump is probably going to be president.
That is incredible.
Isn't that wild?
You could tell the host of that podcast was just stunned. It's like, you couldn't have told me this in the pre so that we could talk about it?
Flabbergasted. Didn't expect that coming at all.
I think he felt broadsided.
I'm not surprised that I think Stephen Miller is a very smart guy.
Huge fan.
Mean, yeah, I'm a huge fan of Stephen Miller's. I liked him in the first administration. Love him in this administration. I think we talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is okay. Who do you think is the better communicator? Joan, Sam, and Chris. Who do you think is the better communicator, J.D. Vance or Stephen Miller?
Oh, I think Stephen Miller, hands down. I love J.D. Vance, but I think Stephen Miller just cuts through everything.
So I would disagree with Joan because I think when you're talking about the best communicator, you want to cast the widest net, and I think that Stephen Miller is a bit polarizing. I think that as far as the administration goes, like the vision and the planning is fantastic. But if you're talking to wide spectrums of the audience, I think J.D. Vance pulls in more people than Stephen Miller.
I think J.D. Vance. Fair. I think. Well, you first, Sam. Then I'm going to give my opinion.
Vance and Miller, or just overall?
Vance and Miller.
I got to go Vance.
Okay, now why?
My overall choice would be Rubio, but.
So you think Marco Rubio is a better communicator than J.D. Vance?
he wears the most hats. He's got the most that he's got to cooperate on and with.
Yeah.
From
but the
different
question
departments
is
and
about
agencies.
his ability to communicate.
Well,
right?
He wouldn't be effective at 4 jobs if he couldn't communicate.
Do you sense a little tension between Sam and Joan right now? Is that just me? You guys okay?
Hey, Sam.
Is everything good over there, guys?
What?
I feel like there's like this tension underlying between the two. Is something
Do we have
happening
tension,
between them?
Sam?
No.
No.
What?
No.
Doesn't that feel
What
tense?
the hell has been going on over there?
Doesn't that feel tense?
I've been over here doing my job, and something's going on over there.
Look, all I know is I see the back of Sam for 5 hours a day. That's it.
Or Joan.
Make me feel like I need a tattoo back there now.
In fairness,
all right? Give me
Joan,
something to look at.
earlier you did say that was Sam's better side. So I don't know. Oh wait, that was in a text? I'm sorry, that was a private. Totally kidding. Totally kidding. I actually see what Sam is saying.
I wear these sweatpants for comfort, not to be objectified.
When I say I see the back of you, I see from the mid back up. I don't see your sweatpants.
Okay.
This got really weird, like really quick.
I didn't play it for this.
I was going to say, Chris, is there anything else you'd like to say about the dynamics of the morning show, which I had absolutely no idea was happening?
Well, I didn't know. I didn't know it was happening either.
Okay. Very good. Do you have the audio of Josh Hawley trying to get a simple answer about whether or not men can get pregnant?
This has been one of the wildest. It's Dr. Versa. She gets very upset if you don't call her doctor as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say, okay, fine, doctor, can men get pregnant? And she goes, well, this is a complicated matter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since you bring it up, why don't we just start there? Dr. Verma, I wasn't sure I understood your answer to Senator Moody a moment ago. Do you think that men can get pregnant?
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was. I mean,
Well, the reason she feels like that is because she doesn't know whether or not men can get
people with
pregnant.
different identities, and so that's where I paused. I think, yeah, I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
Well, the goal is just the truth. So can men get pregnant?
Again, the reason I paused there is I'm not really sure what the goal of the question.
The goal is just to establish a biological reality. You just said a moment ago that science and evidence should control, not politics. So let's just test that proposition. Can men get pregnant?
I take care of people with many identities, but
Stunning and
there are
brave.
many women that can get pregnant. I do take care of people that don't identify as women. That
Can men get pregnant?
again, as I'm saying,
Let me just remind you what you testified to a moment ago. Science and evidence should control, not politics. So can men get pregnant?
Is this a yes or no question?
Yes.
Joan?
No. See, yes or no question. Yes, it's a yes or no question.
It's a yes or no. I mean, it's not that difficult.
You're a doctor, I
agree.
think.
Science and evidence should guide medicine.
Do science and evidence tell us that men can get pregnant? Biological men, can they get pregnant?
The best part of this is Holly is laughing.
I also think yes/no questions like this are a political tool. And
No, yes/no questions are about the truth, doctor. Let's not make a mockery of this proceeding. This is about science and evidence, and I'm asking you. You know, the United States Supreme Court just heard arguments yesterday at great length on this question. This is not a hypothetical question. This is not theoretical. It affects real people in their real lives. And you're here as an expert, called by the other side as an expert, and you've been telling us that you follow, right, you're a doctor, and you follow the science and the evidence. So I just want to know, based on the science, can men get pregnant? That's a yes or no question. It really is, I think.
I think you're trying to reduce the complexity of a lot.
I'm not. I'm trying to it's not complex. I'm trying to get to an answer, and I'm trying to test, frankly, your veracity as a medical professional and as a scientist. Can men get pregnant?
I think you're also conflating
It's
male
extraordinary.
and female with.
No, I'm not conflating male and female. They're two different things. There's biological men and there's biological women. And I want to know, can men get pregnant?
What you were talking about is biological.
You're not going to answer my question, it sounds like.
Who do you think's dumber, Ketanji Brown Jackson or Dr. Verma?
Ketanji Brown Jackson. Let me be clear. But he gives her an out. You know, he says biological men a couple times. So she's good. If we're just dealing with people who were assigned male at birth, the answer would be no.
Yeah.
Like, she could have given the leftist, politically correct answer with Josh Hawley's line of questioning.
I like how he reminds her that she's a doctor before he asks her for the 7th time. Just, yes, you are a doctor.
The most frightening part about this is that she teaches. So she's teaching this nonsense to the next generation of doctors.
At some point, he actually says to her, because it gets really combative, at some point he says to her, is this how you treat the students in your classroom?
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it probably obviously is. What is the point of her being here anyway? Like, I don't even know.
I don't know.
She clearly is dumb as a box of rocks. Or okay, here's the question. Is she dumb, or is her mind just riddled with so much woke nonsense that it overrides whatever intelligence at one point she had?
The latter.
The latter?
Yeah.
So just the woke overrides the intellect.
I'm sure, I'm confident she could deliver a baby. Whether or not she would agree with you that a woman birthed it is clearly up for discussion.
Listen, if I was bleeding out, I would love it if she stopped the bleeding. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, her mind-numbing stupidity and refusal to answer the question is frustrating.
I want her to go for voice training, because if I had to listen to that, always talking to me in that tone, I would kill myself.
But she's
Joan.
Damn.
Joan.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my goodness. Tell us how you really feel.
If you just cross the border into Canada, they'll do it for you.
Males.
This isn't hard, doctor. Can men get pregnant? Yes or no?
Again, I would be more than happy to have a conversation with you that is not coming from a place of trying to be polarized and push.
I'm not trying to be polarizing. I'm trying to ask. I think it is extraordinary that we are here in a hearing about science and about women. And for the record, it's women who get pregnant, not men. We are here about the safety of women and science that shows that this abortion drug causes adverse health events in 11% of cases. That's 22 times greater than the
Does he ever get her to admit that no, men cannot get pregnant? Because I haven't heard this.
If they were talking about the abortion drug, I wish he would have asked, is this drug effective for people who were born male?
It's exactly right. So anyway, that's a lot of fun. One of those days, again, I didn't use all my show prep.
It's just absolute absurdity and insanity from the left.
All right, it is 8:54. Joan's got the news at 9. Joan.
Yeah, coming up here on Super Talk 99.7, the Trump administration holding on to that position about Greenland. We've got more on that coming up at 9 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you, Joan. And as far as Chris Hand's show coming up after the news at 9.
We got another Minneapolis ICE shooting. You know about that. Do you know about the riots that were sparked? We'll talk about that as Donald Trump eyes the Insurrection Act. Plus, a new Nick Shirley video has dropped. This one is even wilder than the last one.
Did you see, I played some audio earlier, but the one guy, it's because we're Muslim.
Yeah.
You don't like us because we're Muslim.
The best part about that is he's talking with a black guy on the street, who's just an American guy.
Yep.
And he's like, I love what you guys are doing, exposing all the fraud. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a Somali Lone Ranger appears. And he says, how dare you? How dare you?
All right, so lots more great audio coming up with Chris Hand after the news at 9. Dan here for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Listen, they've got this new machine. It's called a Hydro Wave, and it can help with the healing of your chronic back, neck, and knee pain. Now, this is a new machine for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. This, along with the non-surgical spinal decompression, is the best you'll ever find at treating your sciatica, your back and neck pain, your slipped or bulging spinal discs, herniated discs, spinal stenosis, numbness or weakness in the arms and legs, fingers and toes. All of that can be a past memory of yesteryear with the help of the Wellness Institute of Nashville. By the way, right now, they've got a really good deal going on in 2026. 47% off the non-surgical spinal decompression for the new year. 47% off non-surgical spinal decompression. Got to check them out. 615-246-5009. The Wellness Institute of Nashville, 615-246-5009. Website, painisbad.com.